All right. The recording has started, but has the live started? We're just going to give it a quick check-see on the YouTube channel. Looks like we're good. Excellent. Wonderful. Welcome everybody to Hash Church Season 11, Episode 42. And hello to all of you wonderful people in the chat room today, from Salty Putts to BC Trichome Farmer. Of course, our good friend and supporter Bingo Lombardi is in there. We got Booth 9666, Pizza Chad, Benjamin Griffin's in the house, and of course, the press club is in the house. What's up, press club? Good to see you here early in the morning to support church. And with that, I think we will get right into our sponsorships. So, give me a second here and we will start things off right. Speaking of the press club, why don't you elevate your solventless game at Hash Church with the press club's premium lineup of rosin extraction essentials, proudly supporting the community through their top tier tools that make clean, potent concentrates a breeze. From their legendary rosin bags with proprietary pink stitch, hard to miss that pink stitch, and a zero blowout guarantee. Anyone that's ever made rosin loves the sound of that. For unbeatable durability and yield, to award-winning wash bags, premium parchment paper, pre-pressed molds, and an innovative press club rosin press for precise heat and precise control. Whether you're crafting at home or scaling up, their IsoSwab stations and collection plates keep your setup spotless and efficient. All crafted with 100% food-grade, dye-free nylon for contaminant-free results that preserve those precious terpenes. Join the Press Club in championing Hash Church by heading over to thepressclub.co today and gear up for your next epic press. Appreciate these guys. They've really been awesome support. Well, we'd be remiss without mentioning these guys. You can also, if we're elevating our solventless game at Hash Church with the press clubs, you can also elevate your sessions at Hash Church with Puffco's cutting edge lineup. Starting with the innovative Pivot, a pocket-sized dab pen that delivers the full rig experience on the go. For those of you that are watching my mushroom video that I just posted literally minutes ago, you will see me using that unit in that video. Featuring a quick release 3D chamber for premium flavor and a real-time temperature control with 4 heat presets and haptic feedback. For epic group rips, dive into the Puffco Peak Pro, powered by the revolutionary 3D XL Bowl technology. That offers a 78% larger chamber for 2 times more vapor, even heating from the sides to preserve terpenes, and an XL joystick for fuller loads with less reclaim. And don't miss the new Proxy, the modular portable powerhouse with 4 precision heat settings, fast 90-minute charging, boost mode for intense hits, I like that, and easy disassembly for seamless cleaning. Perfect really for any adventure. Support Puffco's game-changing innovations by heading over to www.puffco.com or following at Puffco on Instagram today. Well, we got to talk about the bubble bags. Bubble bags stand out as a premier choice for water hash extraction, and it's no surprise why. We are the original innovators who set the standard for quality and performance. Crafted with durability in mind, these bags come with a lifetime warranty, ensuring you're covered for years of consistent use. The team behind Bubble Bags takes pride in their pioneering legacy, backing every product with unwavering confidence and a commitment to excellence, making us a trusted go-to for enthusiasts and professionals alike seeking top-tier hash extraction results. So, yeah, you can check us out at bubblebag.com and you can use hashchurch10 as the code, the discount code. Like I mentioned before, bubble bags are on a massive sale right now. It's over 50% off with this code. So go check that out. Certainly, last but not least, are you ready to take your grow to the next level? Grandmaster LED is bringing the heat with cutting-edge lighting solutions designed for growers who demand the best. Whether you're battling pests or chasing perfect yields, we've got you covered with the latest innovations. The UVC Tarantula Predator, really the ultimate IPM bug. This bad boy harnesses the power of UVC technology to zap mites, thrips, aphids, and more, keeping your garden pristine without chemicals or hassle. Pair it with the Grandmaster LED top tier grow lights, and you've got a setup that's unbeatable for potency, flavor, and peace of mind. Waterproof, daisy chainable, and built to last, the Tarantula Predator is your new secret weapon. Tune into Hash Church to hear the pros rave about Grandmaster LEDs, then grab yours at grandmasterleds.com. You can use the code HashChurch10 at checkout for an exclusive discount. And yeah, light up your grow the Grandmaster way because your plants deserve the best. HashChurch10 is your discount code. Awesome. Awesome. As you can see today, I was not messing around and I decided it would make the most sense for me not to wear my AirPods. Sometimes it just grabs my voice and it changes everything and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, welcome everybody. Glad to see you're all here. I've got a few invitations to send out this morning. I have to go find them on Instagram because they're actually new folks that I'm inviting in. There's Masonic right there. In fact, I don't got to invite him because he just rolled up. He just rolled up. Nice and early too, dude. That's what's up. That is what's up. I also was speaking with Che Education, so I'm hoping he's going to pop in for a little visit here today as well. We'll see. Instagram's insane. If you don't have the exact Instagram account and the person's been shadow banned, they basically make it impossible for you to find said account. So, Cha Education, there he is. I'm going to give him a quick welcome, Edgar. How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I sure can. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, Mark.
You got some dabs behind you?
Bro, come on.
Oh, that's what I like to hear. Every once in a while, I'll see someone post like like a bag of the dabs they've been smoking just for the last month or whatever. I've never personally done it because I'm afraid, but it's got to be like 60 to 90 jars of dabs like every, month, which is
Yeah,
it's a little bit ridiculous.
yeah. This wall is a little out of control because this is all the empties. But the if you look down right here, this is kind of like where I'm playing.
Oh,
This is where I
yeah.
play around. But
Yeah,
these
you
are
got a
empty.
baller jar there too.
Yeah, gotta keep the bulk around when you run out the heat. You just kind of hit the bulk till the heat comes around again.
Straight
That's
up,
life.
straight up. I've been blessed. I've my buddy's been dropping this off for me, and it is just 6-star ridiculousness.
That looks air dried. Is that air dried?
It's also air dried, bro. And I don't know why I'll always love air dried. When I photograph hash that's air dried, and I noticed this the second freeze dryers came on the scene, mainly because, for the air dried, I would always kind of get a look like this. When it was 6-star. When it was 6-star, this is what it would look like. It would grease up, it would round up. And what I didn't really realize was it was kind of hiding any little bits of contaminants, mainly the ones that I saw the most were little capitate stalks. And when I started doing freeze drying and I'd photograph the hash after, there'd be all these little stalks. And I'm like, how the fuck are those appearing, but not appearing in the greased up shit? And I just started putting together that the greased up shit, it hides it much better. It's a much more photogenic hash if you're not running it through like static or cleaning it of those little mini contaminants that just seem to, and they don't even seem to exist. It seems when they're freeze dried, they're almost like a shadow of their former self. They're not really themselves. They're just the shape of themselves because, it's almost they're, 95% of what they are has evaporated in the freeze dryer.
I think I know what you're talking about when you say that for sure. They do look texture different big time, 100%.
Yeah, and there's just something, it's probably nostalgia, it's the same way, these old guys are all obsessed with this stuff here. I gotta open up the open up the Pelican case. The old guys love this stuff right here, they just love that traditional hash. This is
Yep.
like 6 weeks old now. It's completely created a beautiful skin. I haven't cracked it open yet. I'm waiting for about 6 months before I cut this bad boy open and open it up. But it's like a 50-gram ball, super consistent, nowhere near the quality of resin that we're talking about. This is probably a 30 to 35% THC. But when you do the process right, you don't have to add any oil. I notice a lot of the people are adding oil because it's tough. And in their defense, I get it. It's not an easy thing to take resin that is a single screen that's been, I basically call it a farmer's grade dry sift. It's not easy to take a product like that and turn it into a product like this without, adding oil often. A lot of the companies will add oil to try and get that nostalgic, fucking beautiful pressed hash. And I
What kind of
just
oil are they adding, Mark?
well, I've seen all of it. I've seen people use distillate. I've seen people use butane oil. I've seen people use second press rosin. It's any type of bonding agent because, they're using sift that is, I would say, 25% THC. So it's not like making bubble and then just rolling up a ball. Like the balls that Frenchie always rolled up, well, those were 60 to 70% THC. Those are, and it's great, the whole process, but the process of the bottle and the hot water, this is an old Turkish process of pressing hash. What that was really for was it was to blow up the heads, to bring the oil to the outside of the head. So, if you're thinking you got like a 30% THC hash, it could just be a super contaminated hash, but it's also probably simultaneously a hash that is, if you looked at the ball, say at one single head, you'd probably notice that it's not a water balloon with a real thin balloon part that's just full of water. It's more like a Tootsie Pop with a thick candy coating and a little bit of goodness on the inside. And so this is why microplaning was always huge for hash makers. The hash makers in particular that were trying to get that melt, but they could only get it to sizzle. And they kind of eventually learned fresh frozen and they were like, oh, I'm getting even more of a melt. Now they were up to a 2 or a 3 star because their sizzle, has more monoterpenes now that they're fresh frozening it. But the big one was microplaning. And the first time I ever photographed microplane heads, because, people would tell me, oh, with the sifting, you're bruising the heads, you're pushing it too hard. And I'd go and look at under my microscope and be like, I don't know what the fuck these guys are talking about, bruising the fruit. Like, I honestly was like, are they just making this up? Indeed, they were, because I didn't see it. But I sure saw the microplaned heads looked like diamonds. They were just shredded. And I realized right away, okay, so now the oil that's inside the candy coating is outside everywhere. And so when you hold a flame to that, immediately you will get the effects of melty hash, but not necessarily because you grew great genetics and expressed them to the maximum of their ability, more so because you grew mediocre and then followed all these little corner cuts. Like, oh, we'll do it with fresh frozen. We'll save the monos. We'll microplane the hash so all the oil is on the outside. And so that bottle that Frenchie showed so many people, that Turkish hot bottle method of boiling water in a wine bottle or a whatever, a Snapple bottle, rolling the hash is bursting the heads and it's bringing the resin to the outside of the heads. And when you do that, you can create a skin on that hash that is, closer to something like this. And when you go closer to this hash, you can realize right away it's not on the level of those balls that Frenchie was showing, which basically are balls that have, no um, seams in them whatsoever. The hash is seamless, if you will. When you can take hash, this one's a little bit bigger. This one's triple burger, but you can see the quality on this one is like, and I didn't make that wet or anything. That just came out of the plastic bag and it's got a really nice shine. But this is also only about 30% THC. So to get the hash to be this soft and to be, at this low of a percentage, and I'll show you what I mean by how soft it is.
Oh wow, yeah.
It's so soft, dude.
Yeah.
Like you would love to roll this in your hand. So yeah, it's interesting. I still try to connect myself to both schools of hash. I mean, obviously, I don't smoke a ton of hash like this, but what I have been doing lately is I'll take my little hash hit tube, which just has a little ceramic mouthpiece and a ceramic bowl and a paper tube. So just a real super base way of smoking. I mean, if you're puffing out of a mothership on one day and then you're puffing out on the hash hit on the other day, you know what humble pie tastes like. So I like to try and put myself in the shoes. You want to not be too unrelatable. Do you know what I'm
100%.
saying? Like,
100%.
and Johnny B taught me that. John Burfello, my maniac friend from Medtainer. I would make these videos, Edgar, and I'd be like, okay, I'd control everything. I'm a photographer, so I frame the shot. I'm getting everything out of the shot. I mean, I'll never forget one day having a cold, and I didn't have any toilet paper left, so I grabbed a roll of, or sorry, I didn't have any Kleenex left, so I grabbed a roll of toilet paper, and I had it on my desk because I was blowing my nose like crazy. Well, dude, I filmed a video where that got shown in the video. 4,000 comments later. Oh, I wonder what Bubbleman's doing at his computer desk. I was like, oh my God, so I started becoming hyper aware of what people would see and the comments that they would make, which really was not good. It was like a torturous, hellish prison I put myself in. And then Johnny B, who's just like, this fucking awesome dude, but he is not hyper aware. He is not paying attention to everything that's around him. He's in his basement making a bubble bag video. He's literally got his clothes hanging from the fucking ceiling in the basement for drying. It looks like a grenade went off in his basement. There's just shit everywhere. And he's making this video and he's getting like 5 times the views that I'm getting. And my wife finally just sat me down. She says, dude, you are an anomaly, and John is the most relatable person. It's like, stop trying to be such a fucking anomaly and come down off your little high horse. This is my wife telling me this, and just be relatable. And I was like, oh shit. All right. Okay.
100%.
I get
Yeah,
it.
not a lot of people smoke the headiest heady rosin, but that big ball you were rolling in your hand, more people could relate to that big ball, or at least like it's a 50% split. Like you know, we live in this hyper focused connoisseur world where we think everybody knows what's good, but it's actually the complete opposite. We're like the 2%ers amongst the 98%, I feel like sometimes.
Yeah, you're not wrong at all. And it's, I love it. It's part of really one of the things that connected me with Skunkman Sam was he saw this passion I had, this one-way trip to the top of quality and expression, and then, having to learn about it all, having to learn the science of it, having to like keep chemists close and learn about, I mean, geez, lately I've been reading Nika Turin's book, The Secret of Scent. He's this old school perfumery guy. And man, I'm telling you, I want to get him onto Hash Church. This dude wrote an incredible book. It was Jeremy Plum who was on Hash Church maybe 3 or 4 months ago when we did the aromatic volatile compound show with Nick Ziegler and Dr. Mark and Ian from Abstract. And what an awesome episode that was, man. But it's true, it's when I take a picture of beautiful rosin, maybe I'll get 15 to 20,000 people will look at it. When I take a picture of one of these balls of hash, I'll get like 4 to 500,000 people will look at it. And so, with my brand, which, I'm down in the US in about 8 states right now, I tell my partners, look, of course we want to focus on podium products. We want to make sure we know who's got the great beans, whose genetics are pumping right now. We want those popular flavor profiles as well as those old school flavor profiles, as well as those haze profiles of flavor. But at the same time, you can't just take it all and make 99% pure static dry sift and expect to, be able to grow, pay your workers, pay the mortgage on your building. That requires a variety of SKUs, I guess I would
Yep,
say. And I've spent the
100%.
last 3 to 4 years kind of trying to figure that out. Because for me, all I wanted to do was make bubble hash. And then rosin came around and I was like, oh, I'll do that too. And maybe some static dry sift. Those were kind of the 3 products. But when I put dry sifted hash into this and make it available for people, just like hash on the go, like the same way you could puff a doobie. Now, instead of puffing a joint that's 1 gram at 20%, you can just have a little puff of hash. And I'm trying to build a bridge. the same way you're trying to build that bridge with growing and beans and sending out beans to all these people in the world, that's your bridge. Well, for me, most of the people who buy cannabis buy pre-rolled joints, which is a real bitch for hash. It allows them to buy like um, infused joints, but I honestly don't think people who are just buying like three pinners, that are 20% joints are looking to buy themselves like a Canagar with 7 grams of weed and 2 grams of oil and 4 grams of diamonds. And, that it's just too strong for them. So I've gotten myself to a strange place where all I care about is quality. If I went to your house, I'd open all your jars. I'd find the one that has the least amount in it, and then I'd hit that 2 or 3 times in a row because I would know most likely that's your favorite. And I'd want to know why. I'd want to be like, well, what's he, before I asked you, I would hit it 2 or 3 times. And I always do that. And people are always like, damn, Bubble Man, just going for the fucking jar with the least amount. I'm like, well, yeah, dude, like, what am I going to take that jar that has the most amount? It's like,
No thanks.
I don't think so.
I'm good on that one. Yeah,
Right?
that's a good merge. It's very safe. One hit, and then maybe it would be the break the barrier of them wanting to indulge more in hash, 100%. With that one hitter, the
Well, that's
ceramic.
it. And it's funny because my partners are always like, "Oh, it's hard to light." I'm like, "Yeah, of course it is. It's a one hitter. I don't want them to light it and have it go poof and just be gone like a cherry in 3 seconds." And so another thing about hash, and I'm sure you've smoked enough in your life to feel this, when you take dry sift that is not a super clean dry sift and you put it in a bowl and smoke it, it tastes like hay. If you take the same dry sift and you pack it into a bowl and you press it and you remove all of that oxygen out of there and you smoke it, it tastes like hash. It's got that spicy, I don't know why, but beta caryophyllene, that hashy, peppery, dominant terpene in so many cannabises, it just seems to react differently when it's fluffy versus when it's packed. And so that was the other problem with the hash shit, making the bowl too big and just putting hash in there. You'd light it and the whole thing would cherry and then just disappear, a little bit later. But we pack these in, so the first 5 hits you got to take, you're ideally you'd use a beeline or a match, not like sucking a lighter directly into it, but at the same time I want to educate people and I want to teach people, like, I guess it was my narcissism or, this level of like conceit or arrogance that I just thought like everyone needs the best and I know what the best is. And then, I learned that I don't know what the best is, that some people want something completely different and not everyone wants to get super high like the way we do, which in fact, I think I'm going to put my banger in the universal heater here and light up some of this full melt. So let's go for some nitro fumes. A little nitro
Let's
fumes.
go. Oh,
Yeah.
I got this Icewook Ganja Gill Chem de la Sour.
Oh
Actually, just
fuck. Look at you
finished
just
scraping
fucking.
out the last of it.
Oh
Ganja Gill's a
God, dude.
killer, so I'm
Dude,
smoking some
Ganja
killer.
Gill is a killer. I don't think I can find it right now, but if I do, I have a dabber. It's crazy that I don't know where it is. I have a dabber that is silicone at one end. It's a silicone like little piece at one end that almost looks like a samurai sword. It's fat and thick, and I'll tell you, man, for cleaning out jars, you look like a black jar like that that's empty, and you're like, oh damn, it's empty. I'll take that little silicone bitch and like do a 360 around the jar and pull out a full dab. It is the grit. I feel so bad because I've shouted this company out like 50 times on Hash Church, and I don't know the name of the company. Oh, that's a nice
Yeah,
fat dab.
yeah, that's my morning extended release dab. That'll leave me high till like 1 o'clock, probably.
All right.
100%. Yeah, I had a homie like that. He'd come to my shop and he'd like just pick up the empties, and next thing you know, he was getting high, and I'd be like, "You motherfucker, I'm not even mad at you, bro."
No, he's hitting all your favorite flavors.
Yeah, he's smoking the Skittles residue that I left behind. That bastard.
Dude, I am big on the Skittles, dude. I had an interesting conversation with Jolly in Barcelona a couple years ago about the Skittles, and we were talking about how we had been having these aromatic volatile discussions, and Nick Ziegler came on and he was like, well, in order to do sensory science, there's two things you got to do first. And he just blew my mind with this. He said, you got to discover what your sensitivities are, because those aren't on the bar. Those aren't like normal. They're like hyper. So you got to know what ones you smell and taste that are beyond, right? You have a sensitivity to them. I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. That makes total sense, because that sensitivity, if we were both testing and I had a sensitivity that you didn't, say to osamine, maybe you have a blind spot to osamine, because that was the second thing he said. Once you figure out your sensitivities, now you have to figure out what your blind spots are. I was like, well, what does that mean? He said, well, what are the things you're unable to perceive? Do you think you can just perceive everything? Like, you understand that there's a swath of frequencies of which we can see and hear and perceive. And then outside of that, like dogs can hear things we can't hear. And I was like, okay, so within our swath, we can have blind spots. He's like, exactly. So I was like, holy fuck, that's fucking incredible. Sensory science. You want to know what your sensitivities are, and you want to know what your blind spots are. And I started talking to Roger about this in regards to Skittles. And we were like, he actually said it. He was like, wouldn't it be weird if Skittles was just one of those weird profiles that a huge swath of the population could experience 100%? Like, maybe there's almost no blind spots in Skittles, and that's why it wins every fucking contest, that every single person. And it just got me thinking. I was like, dude, that's fucking interesting. It could totally be that. Because I'm
Yeah.
telling you, I don't know what it is with that flavor profile, but I mean, you'll meet the odd person who says they don't like it, but I feel like they're just like those people who are like, I don't like Justin Bieber
I don't like
because
hip
it's
hop.
cool. Yeah, it's because it's cool not to like remember when Justin Bieber became super famous, not through any agencies or promotions, but he put some video up on like YouTube and fucking just got like hundreds of millions of views. And he got so popular that it became like, my young kids, it would just became popular to hate him. And they'd hear him come on the radio and they'd be like, oh God, turn that off. I'm like, what, you hate Justin Bieber? Like, what, you don't even know who this is. How do you hate this person? You have no life experience. I need to know what social pressures are making it so you don't like this person.
Yeah,
Being a
it
parent's a
boggles
trip.
me with Skittles. It's all like, what Skittles did you have? Because a lot of hash makers are known and they grow objectively good and wash objectively good. So it's all like, what jar did you have that made you not like Skittles? Because I need to know.
Yeah.
And if it's some no name, I hate to be the guy, but like you probably didn't have the real Skittles. And I
No,
hate it when
dude.
people say that too, but it is what it is, you know?
Well,
Yeah,
if
one
your eyebrows
example of
don't
this
go up
is
like this, when
yeah.
you smell a jar of Z, it's like, dude, I don't understand. Like, I just love wonderful flavor profiles. People ask me all the time, what's your favorite resin? I'm like, I'll be honest. My favorite resin is the one that I have that was grown the best and expressed the best. So if I have 20 different varieties and there's like three or four that were like 10 out of 10s, well, those are my favorites today. Once they're gone, I'll hit those nines. Then the nines will be my favorite. It's like, that's how it goes. How you doing, Colin? Or should I say
Good,
Paulin?
bro. Good.
Paulin Calmer. That's his band
Colin
name.
Calmer.
We just flipped the C and the P.
That's a
That's
good
how we
flip.
do it. I'm
Yeah.
doing well, man. My son rebroke his arm.
Oh shit. That's a
We've
classic,
been dealing
dude.
with that.
That's a classic.
He's
Rebroke it through
six.
the cast.
No, dude, like 2 days out.
He took the cast off and broke it?
Yeah, like literally
Oh,
yesterday.
that's what's
It
up.
was
That's
like
what's up, dude. And they say
he's
there's
a
no difference between boys and girls. Fuck off.
he's just a wild one, but like so yeah, so he's that's what I've been dealing with. But things are good. I've been running some new cultivars and some old ones that I kind of shelved for like a few years and just hadn't run for a while. But things are good.
All right. Well, welcome,
Yeah,
dude.
man.
Just chilling out with Edgar from Masonic here, and just having a good,
Oh,
nice, chill morning, talking about hash and getting ready to dab one up here.
I'm gonna
me
mute my
too.
shit.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Don't be muting your shit. We're talking here. There's
Uh,
Dr. Allen. Oh, look at that beauty. Dude, there
that's
is
nice.
something about when you take dabbing like seriously, you just want to get yourself like a special little, something something special. There's a real Yeah, I don't even know how to explain it, the whole glass blower thing. We're going to do our glass church soon. We had Marble Slinger on a couple weeks ago. God, was that a fun episode. I had such a blast. It was so good to see him excited. You don't understand, like, not that he's not an excited person, but he's very East Coast. He's very, New York sort of like that vibe where he's, like Slinger. He was so like smiley and elevated and just fucking put a smile on my face. I'm really looking forward to getting all these guys. The glass game has obviously changed an enormous amount in the last 5 years. I think the hit that cannabis took, the value that the resin took, was a big hit to glass because the majority of us were acquiring this glass through trading dabs and or selling weed or oil and then buying glass. So that was kind of the way it went for, 15 plus 20 years. If you're on Grateful Dead tour buying a Snodgrass pipe, you probably weren't pulling money out of your pocket to buy it. And if you did pull money out of your pocket to buy it, you probably just sold a couple of bags of weed or some hash in order to buy it. Welcome, Dr. David Allen, to the
Good
room.
morning.
Nice to see you, buddy.
It's nice to be seen.
It is nice to be seen. Dude, you're awesome. I'm always happy when you show up and spend some time with us and tell a fucking hilarious joke that fucking has us all rolling on the ground.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear Dr. Allen's joke, Masonic, from a couple weeks ago with Remo?
No, but I'm open ears right now. I want
Well,
to hear it.
Remo was gardening and he had all these different plants and he had the corn and he had the peppers and he had like strawberries and then he had some parsley. And he said it. He said, "Oh, there's some parsley." And then Dr. David Allen, what did you say?
Well, first I set him up. I said, "Well, what do you use parsley for?" And he
Right?
started rattling off a whole bunch of
Chimichurra.
stuff.
It's chimichurra.
And I said, "Well, do you know what the difference between parsley and pussy?"
And he said
And he said,
no.
"I don't know." And I said, "No one eats parsley."
Oh my God, you're hilarious.
Dude, it was
That's
so fucking
A
funny.
heart
I'm
surgeon
telling
friend
you.
told me that once.
I'm dead. I'm mid dab too.
I thought you were going to spit your dab out. I'm not going to lie.
I choked on a little bit.
The best part about us was when he told that joke, we all sort of played it like we were like hard leaning left people. We were like, you know how the leaning left won't laugh at funny things because
They're
I don't know,
offended.
you get well, or they're worried they're gonna get canceled or something, and then because it was like I can't remember who it was. I think it was like Dr. Mark and Etienne, a few other people who just had this look on their face, but you couldn't not laugh eventually. Like it was just so funny towards the end that
Well,
we laughed.
listen, Bubble Man, if
Yes.
you don't think it's too risque, I have some limericks I would like to say.
Listen, I know that it's definitely going to be too risque, but I just don't give a
It's
fuck.
not gonna be,
Not
well,
today. Not
limericks
today,
to be
Dr. Allen.
funny
I
have to
want to
be a
hear it
little
all.
bit risque.
Dude, I just
You have to
listen.
admit.
Listen, you
So,
are free to say what you want. We will not cancel you here.
all
And if I
right.
get canceled because of what you say, I'll take it. I'll just
Well,
take it.
I challenge you to write a limerick, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
And limericks, to be really funny, they have to be a little risque. You can't write a limerick that's like real plain and have it be funny. And it has to have the proper pentameter and it has to rhyme a little bit and all that stuff. So my first exposure to limericks was a friend I went to high school with. We lived in St. Louis, and there was this little county in St. Louis called O'Fallon. And so I went to Okinawa, and my friend wrote me a letter, and he wrote this limerick, and he said, "There once was a girl from O'Fallon who could smoke dope and then drink a gallon. She went overseas and stood in the breeze and was raped by a guy named Dave Allen."
Jesus. That's pretty risque, dude.
That's pretty
Jesus
risque.
Christ.
All right,
Jesus I knew it
so
would be horrible. I knew no matter what, it was going to be off the fucking charts. I have to
Well,
finish with my own limerick
all
because
right.
that
Now,
is, you got another
a
one?
second exposure to limericks was during my
Jesus
medical training.
Christ.
We were medical students, and we would have to go on different rotations with OB-GYN and ENT and ER and a bunch of stuff like that and learn what they were doing. So I was on this rotation, this OB-GYN rotation, okay? And there was the chief resident, the chief surgical resident of OB-GYN
Hmm.
was named Lou Zingery, okay? So every time he had a new student come on the rotation, he would make up a limerick about the person. And so I challenge other people to make some limericks about Bubble Man, maybe. I don't know.
Well,
Because
I just popped one into Grok, and Grok wrote this. There once was a stoner named Ish who founded the Church of the Hash. With bowls in the nave, he'd puff and behave, preaching salvation through bongish bliss.
that's
That that
awesome.
was Grok's attempt at a limerick.
Okay. All right. So anyway, so I was on the rotation with Lou Zingery. And so one morning we were on rounds and he says, there once was a guy named Dave who kept a whore in a cave. He said, I'll admit I'm a bit of a shit, but think all the money I'll save. So I thought to myself, "Well, wait a minute. I can't let this guy top me. I got to make one about Lou Zingery." So I thought and I thought. And so one morning we were on rounds and I said proudly in my short lab coat, I said, there once was a doc named Lou Zingery. On vaginal exams, he did lingerie till one patient squeezed his head tween her knees, saying, what's that you're using to finger me?
Jesus Christ. You are from a different generation, my friend. Let me tell you. But you know what? I appreciate the cringe. I love to see how the cringe affects people. And my God, is it affecting people in chat right now? Apologies for the somewhat inappropriate jokes that Dr. Allen has told today. But hey, he's from a different generation. So, and remember, he is a good person. He's a good person. I know that much.
Well, we should be having fun while we're doing this.
Yeah, well, you pissed off about 47 people in the chat
Oh
right
man, I'm
now.
sorry. I
Don't be.
apologize.
No, don't apologize. Listen, this is exactly what's going on in the world right now, Dr. Allen. People want to say things. Sometimes they say things that are inappropriate, but do you want to control what people say? Do you think it's appropriate to control what people say? Because free speech, my friends, only counts for the things you don't want to hear.
That's
It's
right.
easy to have free speech when you agree with everything, motherfuckers,
Well,
but when you
I don't think I hurt
disagree,
anybody's cochlea by saying those words.
no, the sexual assault is very, very sensitive issue with people. It's George Carlin had a sexual assault joke, and man, it did not go over well.
Yeah. Assault with a friendly weapon or something to that effect.
No, his was about
Jesus.
rape can be funny, and then everyone goes, no, it can't. And then he said something about Daffy Duck raping Donald Duck or something, and he said that's funny. It's not funny. Rape is never funny. But let's move on because this is Hash Church, not Rape Church.
Yes, we're off the subject.
Always good to have Dr. Allen come in and change the vibes up. Now we got to smoke like 40 dabs to get off of this conversation. Appreciate you
He
though.
dropped bars. He was dropping bars. I was like,
Dude,
oh, this is a
listen,
kite, man.
I'm telling you, it's ridiculous. Uh, but
Dr.
yes,
Allen
because it
greatest
happens and
hits.
it's not good. That's right. And no, it's not funny. That's right. He can say what he likes. That's right. And of course, anyone can leave as well or start their own podcast and say different things. I'm sure this one will be going for some time now. In the meantime, I'm going to smoke some more hash and talk about some more hashy things. I feel
How's
like
the
you
There once was a guy named Bubble Man. Wait a minute, I got to think about this.
don't. Just don't. You think about it for a while. If it involves raping me, please don't
Yo.
don't do that.
So Edgar, how's the Starburst crosses you're making coming out? You just pop those? Like, what's the deal with those?
So those have actually been in the making for a good minute now. I started with the F1. I bought the F1 seeds. I bought 2 packs of the F2s, and I
Yep,
popped all those indoor, and I
nice.
made a F3 population with the F2s almost immediately. But I got to skim through what the F1s look like. But I worked from the F2s, made the F3s in a small little like 8x4 indoor tent. And then in this full term season, I brought out the F3s and created F4s. And amongst those, when I made the F3s in the indoor, I made a bunch of hybrids. So I made like Karma's Starburst. I made like Barbara Starburst, Honey Banana Tolly Starburst, ChemD GB6 Trig Starburst, Grape Gas Starburst. So I grew those out and hit them back to the Starburst and made like an in cross of some sort, a back cross, crossing it back to the original Mel. Just to create more starburst forward populations, and that's pretty much it. Like that was my starburst journey. I made F4s with the F3s, and I just kind of just like I'm done. I got enough starburst to last me a lifetime. Now I kept a bunch of the F1s, I kept a bunch of the F2s, kept
Yeah.
some of the F3s, got my seeds, of course. Uh, the F4s I still have. I probably popped a few of those. And then same thing with the hybrids. I skimmed through a bunch of the hybrids and hit those back as well. So those are like BXs. And all in all, like I'm starburst out. Like I made tons of hybrids of them, and I kept the aroma like amongst itself and the genetic amongst itself. So yeah, I'm actually treading new territory. I'm gonna do a repopulation of Tropicana hybrids, let alone Tropicana itself. I'm gonna make regular F3s. Just it's been like 10 years, and I feel
Yeah.
it, because of Harry Palms and Oni and me kind of coming up under their banner, it's like only right. And I did kind of tag Harry Palms the other day, and he kind of like gave me the thumbs up. So
Cool. Yeah, I mean,
What? Oh, go ahead,
go
Colin.
ahead. Oh, I was gonna say, I've been running, a bunch of orange forward stuff, and I made some incredible just melt and also just deconstructed products with it, that like terp sauces and like a jelly sauce cart that I just made. It tastes incredible. Like it has that limonene forward almost feel to it because it's so acrid and soriney, that it's almost borderline just has a citrus, if you will, overtone, but it still has a kind of an orange, if you will, thing to it. But I grew lemon G this past summer full term just to kind of refamiliarize myself with it after not running it for like a very long time, maybe actually a decade. And it just reminded me how closely related some of this stuff is to it, and how amazing it is as a building block to use for other citrus forward, work. Really, you should definitely should get you a cut of that so you can
what's
you
up?
can experience it. It's really different. It's where the lemon tree kind of came from, if you will. But
No
it's
doubt.
it's different though. It's almost more citrus orange than even lemon, if you will.
For sure.
Like
I've
it
grown
borderline doesn't even smell lemon to me. It's kind of just its own acrid thing. It's
no
really
doubt.
different. It's not like a super lemon haze lemon, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Super Lemon Haze is like hazy,
Yeah, this is not
like
hazy. It's more gassy lemon.
more danky.
Way danky, but
Yeah,
but anyway, the citrus realm has been of interest to me for the past, like, call it 8 months. I've been kind of getting back into hunting more stuff like that.
yeah. I get possessed to do stuff more than anything, and I'm possessed to do a Trop F2 forward population right now. Like I've been
Yeah.
possessed to do freak show populations. Like I'm like it piques my fancy, and I'm just like, yo, like let's just do it ourselves. And boom, we do it. And this time I actually already made some Trop seeds with the same Mel, and I was really happy with the outcome. I did like grape gas Trop, candy shish Trop, white runge Trop, and then Taliman Trop, pink search Trop, and I popped a small population of them, and I'm like, yo, this is a really nice Mel. Like I like the way the progeny's coming out. And it was to the point where like my garden, any day of the week, it could be like super flooded with plants. And I kind of like, I know where all the important stuff is, but right then and there, I was kind of disregarding trop. But then as soon as I popped those seeds, I'm like, yo, I really hope this trop is in the garden somewhere. And I would like be in bed going to sleep thinking about the fucking trop, like, or any given strain, but trop in particular these past couple of days. And the reason it's so important to me and so like, damn, why is he so tripping on this trop? Well, I already tried it and tested it out. It works. And to just nilly willy go get up and go grab original Tropicana regular seeds with paper trail that or like a sealed pack, it's not just going to happen. And anybody, when I raise my hand that I want one, oh, they're going to be like, oh, so you want it now, it's like, so I'm kind of like that with the with this population. And and I already, it's just been like 10 years. It's good timing. Kids were 15 years ago, they're 25. Dudes that were 10 are 20 now. They've never grown a regular trop. And I know Harry Palms, that's kind of like his thing, very original, but I'm coming at it original because I kind of came up under that banner, and homie knows what's up. Like, Harry Palms is a G, and he actually gave me the thumbs up to do the very first original trop hybrid, which would be Wilson. So it's kind of like everything back to square one. Like, I did my first Trop F2 population in 2016, but that male was completely different compared to the male that I'm using right now.
That's cool, man. I was gonna ask you about Wilson because my understanding was it was a Trop outcross that you kind of were partial to that you selected. And that's awesome, man, because you've used it as a building block for a very long time, and it's it's what you should be doing. Find what works and keep it in stable.
You working with any shishka berries?
Brother, let me tell you. So check this out. Hayes Valley Nursery, Gene Finder OG. They were gifted some seeds from Karma Genetics that Karma acquired from Old School Genetics. Karma had smoked some shishka berry with Old School Genetics, and he's all like, yo, the American market would really be into this candy variety, right? So Old School Genetics crossed it into his Old Widow, made seeds, gifted those seeds to Karma. Karma gave those seeds to Gene Finder. Gene Finder is working with Hayes Valley Nursery. That's kind of his thing. And he's working with a hash maker named Ice House Melts Triple OG. Triple OG, as they're like making selections, he identified that strain. He's like, yo, that's like a good one. Maybe Gene Finder did too, but this is a story I was given. I just have to put the pieces together. But either way, Ice House Triple OG made the selection, and he kind of brought the clone my way, and I had the clone in my garden. And this is when the Legends of Hash 1 rolled around, I think. And I think it won Lemon Dog won the first one in LA or whatever. But then the second one was the Shishka Berry. So that was the same clone that I acquired and that I bred with. And I made like the candy shish and, all that stuff. But yeah, I have like Shishka Berry forward, clone, the Shishka Berry Old Widow that I made seeds with. I made 2 natural selection for populations with it. Natural selections being random male donor with emphasis on whatever I'm trying to capture as far as receivers are concerned. And but yeah, shishka berry forward. And so I did that, and I still have the original clone that was gifted to me since then. So what, it's like, I think that hopped on the scene around 22 or maybe even 21. So I've had it that long. It's not been that long, but I've kept it. And the way I identified with the shishka berry was because the dude Triple OG came to my house and he smoked me out with some, and I was like, yo, what the fuck is this? And like almost immediately the clone came to the garden, and I was able to breed with it, and I got a really nice front row seat to the shishka berry. And as I'm making all this noise with the shishka berry, breeder Steve catches wind of it. And I had a nice lengthy conversation with breeder Steve, a very nice, respectable one, where he's kind of like big brother, big father, big grandfather, like he's kind of like he appreciates the craft, to say the least. He validates what I'm doing instead of like, because I'm very true to what it is. I don't like, oh, it's shishka berry, the one, like, no, I'm very like, here's the paper trail, pay homage to everybody that has anything to do with it, so on and so forth, right? And so I have that shishka berry essence because of that. And then I've also skimmed through Great Gardeners Barbara Bud varieties. So I grew 2 packs of their regs and I grew their fems, and that's a shishka berry Afghan variety, which is, a shade of gray as far as the shishka berries are concerned. Like it's very much like just a derivative of that. And then Karma, because of me freaking fanning the shishka berry flame so much, he's like, "Yo, Mace, I got some seeds for you next time you come to Spain." And sure enough, I pull up on him and he gave me 2 packs of his shishka berry hybrids that he did, and it's the Zhishka berry peach and the Zhishka berry cherry. And I sorted
Mm.
through those, and I'm just Shishka berry coming out my ears now. Like it's like a volunteer will smell like Shishka berry in my backyard from all the stray seeds. And that's for a lot of varieties that I hone in on and I make big populations of, and I'll grow like a big tree of, and I just, make a bunch of hybrids of, or use a mel with emphasis on that aroma to make more seeds of, which
Hmm.
has happened in this case when I pop candy shish. I pop 100 candy shish seeds and let some of the mouths play.
Hell yeah. No, I listen, Shishka Berry was off. Like when I first moved here, Steve was one of the only people that I even knew that lived out here. I can't really remember how it just kind of came to be. I remember there was two lines, a red and a yellow. This would have been like in 96, 97 when I was first kind of exposed to it. It was always exceptional flower. The thing that really opened my mind to how exceptional was it was in 98 that I first saw the isolator bags. And those bags, it was a two bag system, like a 200 micron and a 70 micron. And people didn't really understand the process. It hadn't been like honed in yet. So it was real basic. People were using like drills and cake mixers and stuff. And I had made maybe 4 or 5 batches of hash, and it just like we didn't know how to dry it. It was all you'd make it and then roll it up into a ball, and then it would like mold a week later, and it was just really all quite mediocre. But the first time Steve gave me some shishka berry trim to run, and I believe the first run I ever did was the yellow line. With 2 bags, it came out full melt, which was like I'd never seen it like that. It was kind of like, whoa, what the fuck? What happened here? And so to me, the shishka berry was probably the single cultivar because for whatever reason, I was going to be the guy. The way it worked out and the way Mila, she had this information and she had this knowledge, but she just wasn't going to be going on the internet and making videos. And it just wasn't who Mila was. Mila had her own thing. She was an older woman. She was Dutch. English wasn't her first language. And the internet, was kind of she was kind of a little bit older when the internet popped up. So she just missed that timing just ever so slightly to be that person who would have been like online. I stepped into that, and it was the shishka berry that allowed me to step into that. Right after the shishka berry, it was the Renee. And the Renee, this was the craziest story. So my buddy knows this guy, and he's a heavy set guy, and he's got this crazy grow. His grow is insane. He was building it. I'll never forget it, and I probably have pictures somewhere. It was a giant warehouse, and in the warehouse, he had built these giant like wooden boxes that were his independent grows. And each of these boxes all lined up. He had lights back in the 90s that were sealed that the heat would blow out of the piping so that it didn't heat up the grow. Like he just had this futuristic garden in like 96, 97, and I linked up with him, and he had this partner named Mohammed. And Mohammed was a Fijian Indian guy who was just one of the nicest mans I ever met. And he was hilarious. He was super straight, and he was a landlord. He had all sorts of houses. And how he discovered cannabis was he went to one of his houses one day, and it was a Vietnamese guy who was renting the house, and he had put like 30 lights in my friend's house. And my friend discovered this, and he was just like, what is this? Like he had no idea what it is. Well, the Vietnamese guy was very upset and very scared and thought he was going to get, arrested and deported. And so he was begging my friend Mohammed, please, 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 like just please, 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 and then in that please, 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 he started dialoguing and being like, oh, like currently I'm making $40,000 a crop, and I sell it for this much. And my buddy's just like, are you fucking kidding me? I make 1,500 a month on rent. You're making 15,000 a month? What the So he kicked the guy out, went and bought all of the stuff that the guy had because he was looking at it. He was like, "Oh, I'll buy some of these lights and I'll buy some of," and he literally went and bought like a 20 light grow, and he lit this grow up, and he ended up partnering with this guy with these big grows, and they got this cultivar from this guy named Dr. Rene out in Montreal. And this was a very, very special cultivar for a very long time. It's really lost a lot of its appeal. I will say every once in a while someone will give me a jar with a name of something on it, and I'll be like, those are Rene terps. The thing that I haven't seen in regards to Rene for probably over 15 years was the fact that it smelled like a bowl of fruit. A tiny little bud could get you busted. Like it was just so rank and reeky. It was really problematic. And I can tell you like story after story of my friend getting arrested on his bicycle driving around Vancouver with some in his backpack. I can tell you countless stories of people getting kicked out of hotel rooms because I gave them a little bud of it. You just couldn't seal it. It was like it's sort of what led me down the path of alcohol soluble volatile organic compounds, like ones that don't wash away in the water. Renee was one of the first cultivars that when I washed it, much like shishka berry, it still smelt the same or even better after you washed it. And the water had very little to any smell. And that was pretty rare back in those days because the majority of the cultivars that I feel fit into the prohibition model of how much can I get and how fast can I get it are terps that wash away in water. And it was really water hash coming into play right as prohibition, that harsh prohibition of how much can I get and how fast can I get it was kind of ending. I mean, I get that it still exists to a massive degree, but people are out there growing for flavors now as well. Wouldn't you guys agree? They'll take a little bit less for the right flavor.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
I
So
believe
shout
so.
out to shishka berry for sure. That was the real deal. I'll tell you another thing I did with that shishka berry flower, which was actually pretty bonkers. I took it to India. Like I went to India in 1998 for the Maha Kumbh Mela to smoke chillums with the Babas on the edges of the Ganges in Haridwar. And yeah, I brought some with me. I brought some of the yellow line shishka berry. And man, I'll tell you, the people in Thailand and the people in India had never seen anything like it. It was just this green, bright, beautiful flower. It was so stinky and floral. And it was quite a nice mix when you're puffing chillum after chillum after chillum, right? You got this maniac Pashupati who can smoke like easily 30 grams of chillum in a day. This fucking guy right here. Look at the look. You want to know what that look is? I'll tell you exactly what that look is. This is what he would say to me right after. One more chillum we are making? I'm like, yes, yes, Pashupati, one more chillum we are making. I'd never met a human being that smoked more than that guy until I met Skunkman Sam. I didn't think it was possible. How the fuck are you smoking that many chillums in a day? And you're like, they're really like, there's a medical case for doctors to go out and be like, okay, if you're saying this is bad, then please explain to me. This guy has literally smoked a house fire every day for the last fucking 40 years into his lungs, a house fire. And why is he not like sick from that? Why is there no damage to his lungs whatsoever? Why is he actually healthy? And to be honest, I didn't mention it, but that dude in that picture, okay, is 52 years old in this picture. He's 52, which was interesting because he almost spoke 52 languages. Which I don't know if it just came from puffing hash with all sorts of different people from around the world, but what an incredible way. I feel like if I was born a couple hundred years ago, that's how I would have chosen to learn languages. I would have sat under a tree next to the Ganges, and every like 3 years, or actually every 12 years, a couple million people would show up from all around the world, and you learn things when you don't necessarily there's two ways of meeting people. There's the travel where you go and you put your backpack on and you get out in the world. There's other ways of meeting people too. You can go to these particular places in the world where people gather, and the Maha Kumbh Mela in India, particularly in Haridwar, which is the Maha, it happens every 12 years. It's definitely, if you're into puffing and into the culture of puffing, it's probably something you should go experience at one point in time in your life. And bring some Wilson.
Ah, they got my name on a list now. I'm not
No,
going
dude, I'm
near.
talking I'm talking like in the next couple of years
You'll
when
come up,
federal
Yeah, I feel
regulations
you though. I feel
expands,
you though.
you'll be able to do that legally.
Man, I can't wait to do that. Spread some seed and bring some weed and smoke some hash all around the world without getting handcuffed at the LAX airport.
Well,
I
I mean,
can't.
they've been doing it for the long enough time that it's who knows where cannabis would be had they not been doing that for the last several hundreds of years. Who
Yeah.
bloody knows? I'm ready for another dab. All this talk of
right?
hash. It's time for some Planet Bang Bang. What are
Yeah,
you
you were
puffing on?
like, these guys smoke so much hash, and I'm just like, man, I need to keep up. I'm ready for another dab, man. These guys smoke way more hash than me.
Oh my God, dude. Like a house
All right,
fire. It's insane.
I need to keep up.
Hey, Bubble
That's
Man.
hey.
Uh,
So
I would like to ask a question that you might have some information on, or maybe one of the other panel members.
can try.
And that's I noticed a long time ago when we could get Mexican weed, a lot of it had these red hairs on it.
Mm-hmm.
And we noticed that the pot that had the red hairs had a lot stronger, had a lot bigger effect on it. And so we would actually kind of pull off the red hairs. I guess there's a stamen, I suppose,
Yeah, yeah, stigma
and
hairs.
smoke those in a little pipe separate. And then when I went to college, I got a microscope, a bifocal microscope that you could look at plant material with.
Mm.
And I was starting to study different buds. And actually had a bud collection, and I ended up smoking it all, of course. But so I would look at these things, and I noticed that, and talk about trichromes. There's the sessile trichromes, and then there's the hair trichromes, and then there's the stalked capitate
Yep.
trichromes that everybody's familiar with.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But I noticed that if you look at the hairs, they look like they have stalked capitate trichromes on
They're
the
they're
hairs,
definitely a type of trichome.
but they're like minuscule compared to the regular trichromes that you look at on the leaf.
Trichome,
So,
comb with no R. It's not chrome, it's comb, like you comb
oh,
your hair.
trichome, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So, thank you. So the trichome are minuscule compared to the regular trichome of on the leaf, and so I wonder, since there's a morphological difference, is there a chemovariant difference? And do they have different properties than the other trichromes? Has anybody experienced this, that the hair trichromes look minuscule compared to the other trichromes?
Well, because they're non-glandular. So they're just that sort of like, well, and first of all, their job is to impregnate the plant and produce a seed by grabbing a piece of pollen and pulling it into their hair and then
Right,
dropping it right into the bottom of the calyx, and then that's where like a single seed will develop, right? And so I've
right.
actually am scrolling my Instagram the whole time that you've been talking because scrolling Instagram takes forever when you have like 9,000 pictures on it. But I have a couple of really good stigma hair photos where you can see up close. What I did years ago in order to get to the point where when I kind of came to the conclusion that it's only the glandular trichome head that contains active ingredients that get you high or, whatever. And so how I did that was through bioassay. I didn't have like testing devices to do for me. So what I did was I isolated everything. Like I isolated heads and I isolated stigma hairs and I isolated the plant with a microscope. And then I would just smoke bowls of the things that I isolated. And you had to be really careful because, for instance, when you and your buddies were pulling those little red hairs off, guaranteed they would have had like glandular trichome balls stuck to them. Which, if you go on Schwale or Zoom Gardens or any of these guys that are really sort of at the top of the macro photography cannabis game these days, You can see that in those photos that yeah, the little heads will fall, will break, they'll stick to those stigma hairs. And I'm
So have
getting
you actually
close now.
noticed that the trichromes that are on the red hairs are different in size compared to
There are no glandular trichomes on red hairs. And I'll show you the picture as fast as I can find it.
okay,
They're just stalks. They do not produce glandular hairs. They are
okay,
not to produce glandular hairs. They're to produce a single seed in that calyx that it's coming out of.
right.
It's just amazing how many photos, like I've been scrolling this entire time looking for this one picture of stigma hairs. Oh, there's one right there. So that's one that I could show, I suppose. It's not the one that I was looking for, but here's one of a bunch of stigma hairs coming out of a calyx. And so you can see there's not a ball on the end of any of those little fingers. Those little
Oh yeah, I
fingers,
see that.
yeah, they're just meant to catch a single piece of pollen, right? And when they catch that single piece of pollen, it literally gets morphed inside and it goes down and the whole process begins and it produces
Starts
a
to make a
single seed.
seed.
I'm
Yeah.
not explaining it as well as potentially someone could, but yeah, I'm still going to try and find the other one if I can for you. But yeah, I never got any effects from smoking those hairs when they were isolated away from um,
Huh.
glandular trichome heads. But trichome heads are so small and so invisible to the naked eye that it's very easy to contaminate the thing you're smoking with glandular trichome heads. So to do that
Yeah.
bioassay, you had to be incredibly, well, you had to have a really good microscope, and then you also had to have like this really fine pair of tweezers that could pull things out of, the product when you were
Mechanically separates it. Yeah.
yeah, dude, trust me, it was the slowest, most ridiculous thing ever. And all I did was make the tiniest little bowl. But I'll tell you, when you've got everything isolated out from cystolith hairs to capitate stalks to glandular trichome heads to stigma hairs, and you take a bowl of each one, when you hit the bowl of heads, there is zero doubt as to what gets you high on cannabis. Like, zero doubt.
You are a pioneer.
Well, maybe.
I think you explained it well. I mean, it's a reproductive organ of the plant. So it collects even the smallest amount of pollen will ignite it to create an offspring, in the form
Hmm.
of a seed. So
Yeah. Exactly. It's why your dry sift doesn't melt. People will make dry sift and then they'll say, "Hey, why does my dry sift not melt?" And then I'll take a picture of it for them and be like, "This right here, this is why your dry sift doesn't melt, bro."
your stigma.
And then
Yeah.
you go over to fucking Skunkman Sam's house and you're like, "Dude, why does your dry sift melt like that?" It's like this right here is why my why my dry sift melts.
Beautiful.
And yours doesn't. Yeah, dude, trust me. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen going over to Skunkman Sam and Diana's house for the first time and hitting and being able to, I was so shy. I didn't want to like, I was just so honored to be invited to his house. I didn't really want to push it. But I don't know if it was the second or third time that I was at his house. I brought my camera with me and I was like, I'm gonna ask him because, back then everyone was just trying to monetize this guy. They're all just trying to get some value out of him. And I didn't want that. I just wanted to be able to like be his friend type of thing. So this was the photo I was thinking of, Dr. Allen.
Yeah.
This is that really close up of those hairs. And so those things are reaching for pollen. That's what they're trying to find. They're just trying to find one little single ball of pollen's going to get in there and it's going to get pulled in and that's going to be geez, that was 648 weeks ago,
Huh.
that photo I
So,
posted.
so the question is though, even though they're not capitated, they have different morphological than the regular capitated stalk trichomes.
All of them do.
If is there a
Cystolith
difference?
hair
Is
has,
there a difference in composition?
I don't know, I've never studied the stigma hairs. I just know they don't get me high. That I can tell you. I know they don't get me high, and I know if I let pollen get on them, I end up with seeds. So I don't know if anyone else has as an answer to that.
Well, the tiny those little things that stick out of the stigma, like almost look like hairs. They're the papillae. It's Papilae. That's how you'd spell it. Those are like the tiny hair-like cells that come out of that. If you saw that with that image that Marcus showed, and that's yeah, those are the little things that's part of the organ that kind of grab the pollen in and trigger the whole process of seed development.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, so
It's
it
important. Otherwise, Edgar wouldn't be getting seeds out to the world without that. Let me tell you.
it
Yeah,
just
that
shows
part.
how
The most
intelligent the plant
important,
is. Because
I believe,
the hairs,
sorry.
they're if you think about the pollen and how micronized that is, these hairs are designed to like for that size of a micro piece of pollen to be caught at that right level. So it's like incredible intelligence in terms of like how the plant evolved.
Yeah.
For real. I macro photographed it once with Dr. Atomic years ago. God, it's got to be 25 years ago. Dr. Atomic invited me over to it, or 20 realistically. Little less even because I haven't been doing macro photography for that long. But yeah, I did some photographs with him years ago on it was his Cambodian project. He was crossing the Cambodian with his Northern Lights. And it was the first time I actually photographed. I had photographed some bananas on plants and some male flowers and pollen releasing, but not like this. This was like a full plant. Actually, this is one of his shots. This was DJ Short's blueberry. Okay. And you can actually see a couple of cool things in this shot. In the bottom trichome here above MAN, if you follow that up, you can see a refraction of the trichomes upside down, reflecting in the trichome head. It's not a super clear one, but it was the beginning of refraction trichome shots. And then more importantly, if you see these two little guys right here that are on the stalk of the main capitate stalk trichome, do you see these two little silver balls on the left of the stalk? That's pollen. And it's also pollen at the bottom here. There's another piece over here. But this is a plant that he had pollinated. These were, here's a perfect example of that stigma hair going down
Yeah.
right into a seed. And you can see the pollen, these little drips of pollen that are on the seed are tiny. These are
Beautiful.
tiny, 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 tiny. And then there's a male flower. I was impressed with his male flower because if you looked closely up in here, it's a little bit out of focus. It was a glandular male. And so if you're going to be doing some breeding, if you can find a male that produces trichomes like this, I'm telling you, man, like there is value in the glandular male. This male also is covered in pollen, all these little tiny. So you can, what these photos do, and like I said, they're not the clearest, greatest photos, but they do let you see the size of pollen, which you can see here, all of these tiny little white silver
Beautiful
heads.
photograph.
You can see the size of pollen versus the size of trichomes. And I don't think a lot of people realize, just how small that pollen is, but also just kind of how big it almost is. It's, probably 1/10 to 1/15 the size of those shots. That was 678 weeks ago. I took those photographs with
Beautiful
Dr.
photograph.
Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that was back when I was excited about it. I took this one, which is the mortal enemy of cannabis. The mortal enemy of cannabis, powdery mildew. I was like, oh my God, I had no idea. It looked so creepy under a microscope. I swear I was shivering while I was photographing this. And then, of course, growers that don't know they have powdery mildew are always super excited when you show them they have powdery mildew. Hey, you're not going to post that, are you, man? You're not going to post that, are you? I'm like, no, 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 I would never do that, dude. You're not going to sell it, are you?
Of course.
Start, man.
Oh my God, dude. That's so funny. It's time for another dab, gentlemen.
Yeah.
So the powdery mildew was that little worm looking thing.
Yes, like
That
an
shit
ant
looks
body.
creepy, like
Dude,
symbiote.
dude,
Yeah.
are you kidding me?
It looks like a parasite.
It
It
is.
it fucking is, dude.
Technically, it's
It 100% is. It's so creepy and it's just so like it almost wants to, yeah, I don't even know what to say about it, dude. It looks like a fucking worm that's just growing. It's just growing on your plant. And I do wish that I had taken this photo like more recently. In fact, I would urge Zoom Gardens and Schwale and all of these incredible. I should know all of your names off by heart because you completely blow my mind. You've taken this macro photograph to the 10th next level of where we were farting around with it in 2008. It made me super happy to see people like just become infinitely better than I was at this art form. And
Yeah.
it was kind of a relief because the only reason I picked up this art form was because there were so few people doing it that I needed it to tell my story. When you talk, like when we talked about everything we just talked about, how much more profound do you think it is when we get to show the pictures to the people
Right.
watching, right? The stigma hair pictures, the stigma going into the seed, the size of the pollen,
Yeah.
the bananas, all of this stuff. It completely opened my mind. I was reading about it. You know, Sam was sending me papers and I was learning about it and understanding. But the first time I went to Amsterdam and I met this Dutch guy by the name of Joop Dumas, and Joop had gone to the University of Amsterdam and he had leased or rented the electron scan microscope and he
Oh
had
man.
taken photographs in like the late 80s, early 90s of like single trichomes. And for those of you that remember, I had an advertisement in one of the first cannabis culture magazines that I advertised in, and it was a picture of one of his trichomes, just this golden trichome, nothing else, perfectly in focus. And I just had a buddy create some mountain climbers with picket axes, and some of them were on the head, and they were like chipping away at the head and filling up these little bags, and then sending these bags down like a clothesline. And they
Oh
were just
man.
yeah, they were little different colored bubble bags that we were filling up with the chunks of head. And that was one of my first advertisements. And I paid Joop Dumas 800 guilders to own that photo. Like I bought that photo off of him. So, because at first he was like, "Oh, for $100," and I was like, "So I can put it on like T-shirts?" And he's like, "Well, no, 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 no. You're just paying $100 so you can use it in your ad." And I was like, "Well, how much to buy it?" And let me tell you, like in 1999, 2000, whatever it was, 800 guilders was a lot to pay for a photo. When you're building a company, it was kind of like, damn, like, all right, the company has $4,000. Let's spend 25% of it and buy a trichome photo and see if we can't create some success. So there it is. We did it. It worked. The
You call
hyphae
them
goes into the
gilders?
leaf stomata. Ooh, Hash Massy's getting scientific with us.
I
Yo,
started
Mark,
a microscope company as well. And I had this garden and I was bothered with spider mites.
Yeesh.
And so I had to get a microscope to look at the spider mites. So I bought this microscope thing with big C. Oh man, look at it, it's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. Two different sizes. The one I'm gonna dab and the one that I'll just play with for a while.
So anyway, this I got this microscope from Big C Microscopes, and I started selling them. And it was called Black Betty Products. And I demonstrated this microscope at the Cannabis Cup in Amsterdam in 2008, I think. And you could look at it. It was about the size of uh, a lipstick case or a little bit bigger, and it had a USB cord that you could plug into your laptop. And it was kind of poor quality, but you could at least see spider mite eggs and stuff. And actually, I did some stuff on YouTube. You can look it up, spider mite urinates.
I've seen it. I've seen your spider mite urinates video. It's crazy.
And so anyway, I had this microscope, and I had advertisements in cannabis culture and high times and stuff. And so it was poor quality, but it was kind of an interesting foot in. And so it let me talk to a lot of people about checking out spider mite eggs, which you can't see with your eye, and you could do a survey of the leaf and check for spider mite eggs and control your treatments. And neem oil was the only thing that they could use back then.
Mm,
So you
yeah.
could time the treatments with your spider mite egg count on the microscope.
I'll stay it to this day. I've never seen a greater thing than Grandmaster LED decimating spider mites on his medical grow. I'll never forget going to his house and him being like, "Yeah, this is my medical grow." I'm like, you infested your medical grow with thrips and aphids and spider mites?" And he was like, "Well, I have to like prove the light works. Like I can't just like, you know, not test the light and just sell it." And I was like, "Dude, you're a fucking psychopath, bro. Like this is your medical grow. This isn't some like small little grow you just set up somewhere. This is like a 20 plus light medical grow that's like, holy shit." I went to his house. He had this light set up in one tent with aphids, and they were jumping to their death to get away from it. And there was a pile of aphids, like a little
Wow.
mountain of aphids on the side of where his pot was. His spider mites, I showed up about 5 or 6 days into treatment, and they were walking around like zombies, and they were no longer producing offspring. Like you
What
could
what what
tell.
what treatment was UVA or UVB?
No, C. UVC.
UVC?
Yeah, the one that'll literally give you cancer if you like. Like you can't go around this light. It's not safe. It's 5 watts. It's super small. Probably take
Right,
years, but you definitely want to be super safe with it. It goes on when no one's in the room. In fact, it can go on when the lights are off. It's such a
right.
small, short amount of time. It doesn't affect flowering period or anything like that.
Remo uses that in his ventilation system in his grow to kill mold and stuff in the air.
Yes, he has some other system. It's a little bit different than what Thomas is doing at Grandmaster LED. Someone asked, did he ever test to see if any DNA damage is being done? I would guess that DNA damage would have to be done. Chimera came on here already, and we suggested not to do your mothers with UVC treatments. But if you're in a commercial grower and you're just cloning and trying to get a clone to bloom and then cutting it down and harvesting it, these lights are a
Perfect.
godsend for you.
So let's talk about UVA. What is your experience?
None, zero, zip. But I know that Jair from Dutch Horticultural, who used to own Gavita, he has a lot of experience with UVA and B. He has some lights that he's selling right now. I believe it's a UVB one though, but it might be A and B. But that is the
Yeah.
extent of what I know right there, what I just said.
So briefly, people that are not familiar, UVA is lower wave, and it's like black light. UVB is will give you a suntan, and UVC is kills
We'll give you
bacteria,
cancer.
bacteria and stuff. So
Right.
the higher the frequency, the more. Uh, so one time I bought a 250-watt black light. It was a stage light, and I had to hang it upside down. And what I did was I hung it over one particular plant and I put it on its own timer and it was on for I think 6 or 8 hours over this one plant uh, during the midday. And when we smoked it, it definitely had a different effect. So I think UVA black light might be an important addition to indoor grows. So anybody have experience?
I have no experience. I have experience mostly puffing dabs these days. Even the grow that I grew, I will say this. Your grow, Masonic, it was inspirational to watch again this year. It was beyond inspirational last year when you showed it, but it was like, I just can't wrap my head around what you're doing. It makes no sense whatsoever. And I think that's what I love about it. It's these fucking 20-foot trees growing out of your yard in Compton. It's so good, dude.
Yeah,
Ah,
this
fuck.
season I depped from like May to like the early day of August, So I
Mm.
knocked out my season really quick. I didn't focus too much on full term. I just did a quick hunt, grew a bunch of stuff, flipped a bunch of stuff, repopulated a bunch of seeds, and I still grew out. I seen a Robert Clark name drop Trident Seeds the other day. And meanwhile, I've been in my like me by myself growing this company, right? And finally I see Robert Clark name drop Trident Seeds, and I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. Like someone else knows, like someone else is doing this too. It's not just me, and out of all people, Robert Clark, like hell yeah, let's go. So that 20-foot plant is a Trident Seeds variety. It's their India Orissa. So I still have that same one going. I've had the same one growing since he gifted me the seeds like 3 years ago. And like I said earlier, like I don't smoke this plant. I make seeds with the plant and I keep the clone around. Like and even though I'm not like into this smoke, I'm into the just the fact of growing it, smelling it. Like that right there is an experience amongst itself. Like, and that's for a lot of plants. And that's why I'm such a like a hoarder, like of plants, because I might necessarily not enjoy, super lemon haze type varieties, but I'm into the knowledge. So I do keep a pine tar kush around. If I had a big holy sir, I might keep it around just on the sake of knowledge and like, preservation and just like respect to the culture. But yeah, those 20-footers, that's where it's from. It's that Trident seed shit. And it is kind of nerve wracking. It's more nerve wracking when they're just big old donkey nugs in the air. Those are like long flowering ones. So they literally just started flowering like 10 days ago. I shit you not. They started to, throw out their bract and get hit almost immediately with pollen because I always got a mel floating around. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Booth 966 says he's got several 20 footers in his yard this year. I
Wow.
I applaud you. I
I'm
grew
envious.
maybe six plants on my deck this year. Pretty much all of them are gone, thrown away in the green waste bags at this point in time. I do have one left, a planet papaya or a papaya bang bang, I should say, that it is pink and purple. It's so beautiful, but I mean it's like 99% humidity out there, so I pretty much have to bring it in my house if I don't want it to just liquefy.
No doubt.
I'd like to throw it into. I grow them mostly as ornamentals. I probably have like 75 house plants that I care for inside my house. So I have a lot of house plants. And then I probably have like maybe 300 plants outside of my house that are like non-cannabis plants that I care for, like azaleas and rhododendrons and Japanese maples and fucking endless amounts of plants that I have. Sumac trees, bushes, and I love to grow, but it seems like lately I'm more focused on just the plants that are growing on my property. I have about an acre of property, so it's uh it's a lot to care for.
That's dope. That's super
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy it. It's awesome getting out in the garden and I got some peyotes and some cannabis plants and some now we're thinking of well, mushroom season just started. Actually, today I did something I've never done in my life of Hash Church. I posted a video literally 2 minutes before Hash Church started this morning on my last mushroom trip where I went and found probably the nicest pig ears that we've ever found. My friend Sean found them. I don't know if you guys are familiar with pig ears, but they're really like kind of brown and thin on the top. But when you look underneath, they look more like a chanterelle with a real purpley bluish color. Super beautiful mushrooms. We found a big stack of them, but we also found lobsters and chanterelles and so yeah, I posted that video literally 2 minutes before we went live, which is something I've never done before. It was kind of a bit of a gamble. I thought, what if this like messes up my ability to go live? And anyway, that video's up there for anyone that wants to check it out. It's a quick one, 15 minutes, just walking through the forest, puffing on my pivot, and picking some edible mushrooms. We'll be doing these psychedelic mushroom videos here in a couple weeks. It's usually closer to Halloween. We need to get a bit of a colder weather for the cyanescin mycelium and the stunzies and the semilenciatas for that matter to pop to fruit. So hopefully before Halloween, I'll go out and pick a bunch of cyanescins. I do love me some cyanescins. I feel like they're always close, but I think I took my bowl of them and put them in the other room. Wonderful mushroom to microdose, just nipping away at little stalks. You ever grow any mushrooms up there, Edgar?
Yeah, so they've sent me some the collinated bags, and
Awesome.
I'll literally just throw them at my bedside like an asshole and they'll grow right there. I've
Yeah,
done that
dude.
3 times over, and I'm such a dick that as soon as it dries out, I'll grab the bag and I'll go to the shower head and I'll just and I'll throw it right back in the fucking, and it'll do it till it like probably like gets too much bacteria or something from the non-sterile water that I'm giving it or
Dude, it's
something.
amazing. It's amazing to think how crazy that is. Back in the 80s when I started growing mushrooms and we didn't know much about it. We had to order Terrence and Dennis's book there, OES and Oric were the pen names, the Mushroom Grower's Guide from like 1976 or something. I got it probably about 10 years later in 1986, 87. By 89, we were growing some mushrooms. 89, 90, I think we started growing. We ordered the syzygy from Terrence McKenna. And well, his wife Kat was the one who was selling it, but that was the mushroom we were going to grow. We got this store print, and for those of you that don't know, because I have mentioned the syzygy on multiple occasions, it is an astronomical term, if you can imagine. The syzygy. It's when three celestial bodies line up in perfect alignment. That's what syzygy is. Um, this is what they decided to name this. Obviously, there was some lining up of planets. They went to the Amazon. The priest moved to the Amazon. The priest cleared some of the jungle. He brought in cows. The cows took shits. The mushrooms appeared. And so these were the planets aligning to produce the syzygy. But I started growing that back in the late 80s, early 90s, and never really looked back. But holy shit, dude, we had to create a transfer chamber, like a box with a fucking clear glass window that you can put your arms into with like gloves that are inside the box. And the amount of Lysol disinfectant and how hard it was to not get black mold. Because what we were doing was basically we would take grain, we would put it in a glass jar, we would pressure cook the jar. We would take that jar and then put it inside the transfer chamber. Now we didn't even know about PF Tech in those days, so I just can't believe you could just buy a bag of mycelium like that. That was all this work had been already done, and you could throw it next to your bed is fucking awesome. But the amount of work that it takes to get there, the transfer chamber, and we were still of the understanding back then that you actually had to take the spore and you had to put it in a petri dish on a medium called agar, and you had to grow mycelia. And then once you grew the mycelia, you could cut a piece of that and inoculate this jar that you had sterilized full of grain in the pressure cooker. And every time you opened the jar or opened the petri dish, you created a massive vector for contaminating the whole lot and making it not work out. So you can only imagine how away I am that you got to just put your tap water in there, throw it next to your bed. We've come a long way.
Yep. I harvest them and I just throw them like I'll find a drawer in the kitchen somewhere and I'll like away from the kids, of course, somewhere high, and I'll just throw them in there and they dry out and we got mushrooms if anybody wants to trip out, like
Okay,
it's
so
that,
you
that
are growing the psychedelic ones. You can do it with
yeah.
pink oysters. You can do it with lion's mane. Like you could get those bags and do it with your kids for your kids. Like you'd be like, watch what happens when we do this together. Because it is quite something to watch like pink pearl oysters grow out of a small bag. They are so beautiful. The color is surreal. And the fact that you can harvest them and then cut them all up and make some delicious food, which is what we did the other day with our pig ears. Man, was it good. It's good eating from the forest or from your bedroom.
100%. with all our freaking, we're sleeping right next to him. It was a trip. Had to
So
keep him away from everybody.
yeah, well, yeah, when they're psychedelic for sure. So
Yeah.
what are you choosing from your selection there? You have this nice big selection of things.
So I just scraped the last of some Z from Sugar Magnolia. It's his
Ooh,
Eyes of the Z Hill, I think he calls it. What is it called? Um Eyes of the World. I think it's a play on
Grateful Dead.
Grateful Dead.
It
Yeah,
is.
and then I didn't have enough to satisfy my dabbage, so I threw a little bit of my strawberry grease monkey Wilson on there. So we're gonna do that. So we got, and the strawberry grease monkey Wilson is from another company right here, Charisma. So we're
Beautiful.
gonna go in on that. Yeah.
So many companies doing it right, man. Well, I'm gonna hit some MK Ultra. Just took some powder and rolled it up into a nice little full mount snake. And she is going in the banger very soon. Because it's Sunday morning, and one thing I love to do on a Sunday morning is blast dabs. October 19th. So we have about a month and a week left here in British Columbia before our mountains will open and we'll be able to get into the year of snowboarding. I do love me some snowboarding. I'm going to do as many videos as I can up in Whistler this year. And who knows, maybe even if I can pull it off, we'll get up to the ice cave. Wouldn't it be cool to do hash church in the ice cave?
Oh yeah.
Wouldn't that be sick? On the sleds. Got to bring the Starlink though for that and the Mini Jenny. It's a lot of stuff to bring on a sled for a 2.5 hour cruise into, the back country where at any point in time you could fall into a 1,000 foot crevasse and just be not no longer exist in the world. It is a weird, trippy feeling being out in the void. I can only imagine. It's sort of reminiscent of being like 100 feet or more under the ocean, scuba diving. There's just a invisible pressure that you feel when you can perish so easily.
Yeah.
Everything seems to taste better and feel better. Dabs are better. Everything's better when you're in the backcountry and you have to pay attention to your movements, how you move. All
Could
right,
you
let's.
post a link to your previous video you did in the ice caves?
Yeah, absolutely, I can.
That was beautiful
Hmm.
video.
Yeah, let me see. I gotta go Ice Cave Bubble Man's World. There we go. I got you pinned, Edgar. You're pinned. Everyone's watching your dab. That's a nice fucking piece, dude. Is that Purple Rain?
The Siren.
Siren. No, I knew it was
Yep.
Siren. I just wondered if the glass was Purple Rain. The
Oh
the
man,
color, the
I'm
color.
I'm so oblivious to the glass culture. I'm just blessed to have a nice piece here and there, man.
Well, fucking A, dude. That's how it starts, just so you know. I was as oblivious when I met all the glass blowers, but they'll educate you.
Yep. If you say this is Purple Rain, it's probably Purple Rain, Mark, for sure. I thought you meant like a company or something. No, this
Woohoo.
is a Siren.
I just
Yeah,
did
he's incredible.
did a nice photo stack here of some outdoor. Should show you what it looks like.
Wow, that dab slapped. There's definitely something to be said for puffing on melt versus rosin.
Yeah, way
Like,
more full body.
oh my gosh. I love rosin. I find it to be a dessert. I find it to be obviously easier to clean my banger. But I'll tell you, like the melt, I brought a bunch of melt out to a sensory team recently out in Quebec, and these guys wanted to smoke rosin more so just for the cleaning aspect. I was like, so if I just gave you a new heated banger each time, you'd hit the melt. But they're younger guys, they don't have the experience, and all this stuff is subjective. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean what you think is the best, which that was the hard pill to swallow quite some time ago. Because when I first started making melt, nobody had it. It was a super anomaly, and I just got to turn on everyone. Now everyone's pretty loaded up with, not so much melt, but rosin for sure. All right, here's a Pemberton Ice Cave adventure for you, Dr. Allen.
Oh, nice.
My God, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, dude. I can't believe that I got to do these things. I'll be honest. Just incredible. I'll share the link here in a second, Dr. Allen. From the what?
Everybody wants to be you, Bubble Man.
Oh, that is absolutely not true.
What would Bubble Man do?
I would do, here's the thing. Let's talk about authenticity. Be inspired, don't be envious. Be the best version that you can be of yourself because there
Yeah.
never will be another version of you, and there never has been another version of you. So the thing we get lost in because we're all so damn afraid to fit in life, right? We want to fit in. No one wants to stand out except Dr. David Allen. He's willing to stand out. Fucking A, dude. Good for you. Telling uncomfortable, crazy ass jokes on Hash Church, making us all roll our eyes, making us all
Uh,
cringe for a little while. That's what life is all about. Anyway, yeah, authenticity. I keep saying it. If you're just you, I kind of get that from Edgar. I feel like he is an authentic dude. And that's why he's kind of exploded and blown up, and people are like paying attention to him because there's so many fucking phonies out in the world right now. And no offense, I'm not judging you critically, like, in a sense of saying you're phony judgmentally. Everyone is afraid. We're all so afraid of not getting canceled, of fitting in, of making sure, and that kills authenticity, unfortunately. It's best to
yeah.
just stick to being who you are and be, as you get older too, this, Dr. Allen. I'm not quite there. I'm only 52 right now, but it's certainly different from when I was 40 and 30. I think differently. And as you get older, you just really do naturally care less what people think, which today is a dangerous thing because we live in a time where you have to be worried about what everyone thinks. It's
Not
pretty
me.
it's pretty unfortunate. Well, I mean, you also had the DEA. You went to war with the DEA. So how about that?
Oh, not exactly the DEA, but
Mm,
yeah.
well, okay, then what? The fucking Kamala Harris? The fucking
Yeah, Kamala Harris went
yeah.
after me.
Okay. So whatever, dude. That's one
No,
up
she
from
got
the
the
D.
medical board after me.
Yeah, I know. I would always remind people of that when they were telling me that she was the most likely person to legalize cannabis. I was like, what are you talking about? Talk to Dr. David Allen. See what he thinks about that.
Yeah. Her name was at the top of the lawsuit
Right.
that the
What was she, a
medical board brought
prosecutor at the
against me.
time?
What?
She was the prosecuting attorney at the time,
Yeah,
or the
yeah,
DA?
she was the Attorney General of
Oh,
California.
Attorney General. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude.
So she was over the medical board.
Right. Well, who knows? Let's
And so
see what's going to
now,
happen.
so now you don't even need a doctor's exam to get cannabis in California. So they were claiming that I was a hazard to the public for recommending cannabis on a patient that had been using it for years safely.
Jesus Christ.
And so they claimed I didn't do what they call a good faith exam, and there's no definition for that, so they can widely apply it to whoever they wanted to attack.
So how long did they put you in a cage for?
Well, that's a different issue, but I spent 14 months in prison in Mississippi,
Oof.
pre-trial.
Damn. What was that
Yeah.
like?
They don't like doctors in jail.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, I had to fight a lot.
They don't like doctors in jail. That is
No,
interesting.
yeah.
I wonder
And
why
they
that
use
is.
cold as a weapon.
They use what?
Cold as a weapon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they freeze you out in prison.
Huh.
Yeah,
They must have to use air conditioning in Mississippi.
they do.
That's rough. That would be torture for me. I'm very sensitive to air conditioning. I don't like it. I just want regular. I don't care if it's like 40 degrees or 110 or whatever. I just want it to be the normal air. I don't want it to be like processed through some
Yeah.
equipment. But I also live in Canada, so maybe it's easier said than done. How are things down there for you, Edgar? It probably gets pretty hot, huh?
Oh man, we got really good weather. You know, it does get hot during the summer, but besides that, like Compton is it's it's a little bit chiller always than the valley might be at any given point, which is, an hour and a half up the road.
Mm,
So it's like we got a nice little thing going on right here. It does get hot when it gets hot, but it's like windows, very, very thin windows. I
yeah,
like to imagine compared to somewhere where it's just like blown out. Yeah,
yeah,
we got a nice one here. It doesn't snow here. It never snows. It barely rains. It doesn't get below 40. It doesn't get above, like, it could get hot, but like the doesn't get below 40 thing is really cool, and the days above 100 are very, very thin.
dude, just perfect, eh? I
It's
bet
not
you it
bad.
gets hot where you are, Dr. Allen.
It does. It was 105 yesterday on the front porch.
Damn. That's yeah, it was probably like, I don't know in Fahrenheit, but it was probably like 55 or 60 here yesterday. It's starting to cool off, but that's okay. That's what somehow that's how the mushroom knows to fruit this time of year. So we need the
Ah,
temperature shift. And then also when the temperature does shift down here, it's shifted even more up there. Don't really think about it until you have mountains, but it gets colder up the higher you walk up. And so it's already snowing on our local mountains, which is
what
incredible.
elevation are you at?
I mean, I'm right next to the ocean, but the mountains I go to are like around 6,000, 7,000 feet, the tops of them. So nothing like Colorado. Definitely nothing like Everest. I don't know if you guys saw that guy go up there and pay homage to either his girlfriend or colleague, athlete that died on Mount Everest, and then he skied down Mount Everest from like 26,000 feet.
Whoa.
Yeah, just stopping every 5 minutes to like choke and cough because he couldn't breathe because he did it without oxygen.
So what's the best elevation to grow pot?
Well, that's an interesting question. I've never grown pot at all the elevations, so I would be completely unable to answer that question. I guess it would you would have to say what kind of pot you like first, because if you
Yeah.
liked those narrow leaf drug cultivars, those sativas, then you're probably like closer to the equator and much closer to the sea level than if you are liking those high mountain, dry, arid Kush cultivars. Different places, but I don't
So at
know.
elevation, you have less atmospheric pressure. So I would suspect that the trichromes might have less pressure to come out against,
Mhm.
and you have higher UV irradiation, so that might help with cannabinoid production.
Well, I met a guy years ago and he was like, worked with this group that was going to be growing cannabis on like the Russian space station. It was like space weed or something. He was going to grow like 10 kilos of it and then bring it down to Earth and sell it as space weed. And I was just like, whoa, dude, you could do some pretty interesting experiments because they did some experiments in Manitoba, in Canada, when they first legalized cannabis, like in 1999 or something like that, or 2000. It was Prairie Farms was the company. And if you remember, they grew in a mine, like super deep down in the ground. And I can't remember exactly. You could easily search prairie plant cannabis growing in Canada, and they had found some interesting things. Cannabis definitely is affected by its terroir and its environment, unless you control that terroir and environment. But I think going up that high or going down that low, you could
Explain what
not.
that is, terroir.
Well, terroir is just it's the environment in which the plant has expressed itself. So everything from the person gardening it to the pressure in the air, the temperature fluctuations, the potency of light and filtration, and the soil and the products, the nematodes and bacteria and mycorrhizosphere that's specific to that soil. It's like
Right.
why Bordeaux wine is like special. It's like, or that Argentinian, right? It's like you can buy the grapes and grow them anywhere, but when you grow them in these specific regions, like lavender grows in this place in Germany, it's like the number one. The number two is like a French lavender. You can grow lavender all over the world, but for whatever reason, in these specific terroirs, they express themselves in a special way. And I think that is the future of cannabis when the world legalizes cannabis and you can grow cannabis everywhere. People will understand that, yeah, there's always going to be a business for growing cannabis indoors, but when you can actually export your terroir, where you can say, okay, like this group I'm talking to in New Zealand, they sent me these pictures the other day that which I'm about to share with you right now. Would you not want to export this more than an indoor grow if you could? Like,
Man.
dude, come on. This is ridiculous. Oh, did you see the fucking ocean is right there? It's like, look how close it is to the ocean.
Oh man.
Oh, man is right, dude. Oh,
Wow.
man. So, the plants, we can grow cannabis anywhere in the world, but these guys, if they hire the right people and they do the right work, you're looking for something that expresses itself in a very special way here. And what is that? Well, the lowest hanging fruit, in my opinion, is a novel dominant volatile organic compound. Whether it's a thiol or a terpene or a terpenoid, I don't know, but it's going to create a super, like selena there that Johnny has in the whitethorn rose. It's unique, it's novel. Nobody else really has that. And it doesn't matter if you like it or not, he has it. He can export the expression of it from his farm when federal legalization comes all over the world. And anyone that wants to experience, Huckleberry Farms from California will be able to get that selena terpene, and flavor profile. And I see that for the world. I see Lebanon selling hash 20 years from now that is like where they have like not just through prohibition, but through science and agronomy, finding the proper cultivars that should be grown in Lebanon to create hashish in their traditional ways and export it out to the rest of the world. That's the type of shit that just super excites me.
You're saying Selena Dion, is that like the terp that you identify Whitethorn Rose with?
Well, that's the one that he came and told us. Yeah, so he came on one time through Craig from Alpenglow.
Yes, Alpenglow, they're really good people for sure.
Awesome people, dude. Like just awesome people. In full agreement. So he brought Johnny on, who is a good friend of his. He's like, "Oh, I got it. You should meet Johnny from Huckleberry Farms." For me, it was weird. I was meeting my partners in Maryland for the first time. This guy, Seth, and Seth puffs tough, like tough. And he just puffs and puffs and puffs and puffs and puffs, and very few things impress him. It's actually kind of impressive in its own way. And he was telling me in Spain this year, um, that he smoked this whitethorn rose in California and it was the greatest fucking flower he's ever smoked. And he just went on and on and on about it. And he said he needed to get the cultivar. And I'm telling you, dude, that Sunday, he probably told me this on like a Friday or a Saturday. The next day or 2 days later on Hash Church, Craig's on Hash Church, and I think I might have mentioned it or something. Or maybe Caleb mentioned it, and bam, Johnny's in the room. He's actually walking around. He's actually in Spain as well. And he's walking around oh God, what is it called? That giant tourist attraction that took 1,000 years to build. The La Sagrada de Familia. The Sagrada de Familia, the big crazy church.
La Sagrada Familia.
Yeah, La Sagrada de Familia. That
Yep,
thing is
yep.
crazy, dude. I've been in it many times. He was there. He comes in on his phone. And he starts telling this whole story because we were talking about the terpene wheel that Alec and the crew at SC Labs and even Chimera and NAPRO, all of these groups were working on this sort of, explanation of the terpenes. And because SC Labs had tested so many cultivars, what they had found was really, I don't know if it was 8 or 10 or 12, but there was these main dominant ones. Maybe it was even 6 or 8 that just kept showing up over and over and over again as the main ones. And because of that, when Johnny would send his product in to get tested, that's all that was coming up. So obviously you can't know to test for something you don't know is there. The only option is you test for like as many things as possible, and there's hundreds of them. So most people test for 40 or 50 or maybe 60 or maybe even 80. But if you're looking for a novel terpene or novel volatile organic compound, you might have to test. I mean, think of this. Nick Ziegler found over 1,400 sulfur long chain sulfur compounds thiols in hops, and he believes there's probably just as many in cannabis. That's just thiols. So now in order to find these things, at least the ones that are making dominant changes by being present, and it's not just the profile. And that's what that Selena Diane was. And he had to go down this whole rabbit hole to figure it out because the little wheel, it didn't work for him. In fact, it locked him out. So the wheel is amazing. The concept is awesome, but we have to always remember to keep the doors open for when and it was really their bioassay. They knew something was different about this weed. Everyone that tasted it was like, dude, there's something different. Okay, now we got to go to the lab and we got to get them to test for everything. And that's going to be
Yeah.
expensive, really expensive. So they found it. They found that Selena dying, and it really opened my mind to the concept of like, dude, this is what we're looking to do right now. We're looking to find these novel and unique terpene profiles because even if currently the way we're doing seeds, it's not all 55,000 seed populations. We're just finding things here and there, and they're great and they're amazing. But obviously, there's got to be an effect of that in the long term as well, at least maybe for beyond growing at home and growing like large scale. So that'll always have a play in as well. People that are going to want to do these 100,000 seed populations down the road. But even if we can just get there faster by finding these novel things in things that people are growing in their garage right now or a tent, finding that gene synthase that's present in that genetic and then getting it sent off to the people who are like, we're going to breed all of these flavor profiles out into super stable genetics and make them available for people. Because in a perfect world, I love the idea of going to a cannabis nursery down the road and just buying like plants for 5 and 8 and 12 bucks a pop, just cuts, just like, oh, this one's like, oh man, I'm gonna grab. Dude, how many did you get? I got like 300, man. Like, this is awesome. Being able to buy cannabis plants in a nursery would be absolutely awesome. And of course, I can get from many, many friends. I like the idea of people being able to go to the nursery and being like, cannabis is just as beautiful as any of the plants in your garden. I should go get my pink and blooming one right now because it is fucking awesome looking.
Yeah, the
Beautiful,
white
really.
thorn rose, really distinct. I can spot it out, like if someone put a jar in front of me, like, oh,
Right
that's white
away.
thorn rose. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and that was literally in the past 2 years, like it just boom, stamped, like, okay, part of the genetic wave now. I have
Yeah.
some seeds. My uncle just went to the Bryantist class with the Huckleberry at Huckleberry Farms,
Oh,
and he
word.
brought he brought back a pack of seeds, and we're popping those. They're like little seedlings right now, so I'm gonna lock
Wicked.
in on some Huckleberry, hopefully. you know
Yeah. Yeah. We ended up getting some from them in Spain that year as well. I got some for my partners in Maryland. It wasn't the white thorn rose, but it was like white thorn rose crossed with like the punch.
Exactly. It's white thorn rose, but my hope is to find a white thorn rose leaner in there
Dude, of
because you can't
course.
get the clone. You
No.
can't like, hey, sell me the clone. So you got to get the closest to that flame as you can. And I'm just
Yep.
right there on the hunt. That's part of the hunt.
Yeah.
It's like it gives me goosebumps sometimes. I love it.
Yeah. No, it's awesome, dude. I look forward to seeing what you come up with. It's
It's
awesome.
coming up quick. It'll be done before the year ends, closer to the year finishing. Like me seeing if I lock in a white thorn rose aroma in those flowering plants sooner than
Man,
later.
I just worry about how many amazing flavor profiles have come and gone because people haven't either been able to perceive them, haven't recognized what they had, or hoarded without sharing and lost it.
Yeah, I was talking to a buddy the other day because of the THC caps and all these things. Imagine a big facility with maybe like someone that's very culture orientated with a nose, but because of all the THC levels that have to be met, get disregarded in a selection in a huge population. So that's probably like imagine those big companies buying hella seeds from all types of breeders, and just because it doesn't meet that THC cap, like it gets disregarded. And that's, that probably that thought process gets trickled down to, Joe Schmo, and he's over there going on a THC chase, testing his weed too, disregarding the more aromatic plants that probably would be more feasible to, to a connoisseur. I
Hmm.
was, yeah.
What are we looking at here?
So this is original diesel here, some
Mm,
outdoor,
pretty.
and this is a photo stack I just did while we were on. And
You stacking photos?
and then this one is too. This needs to be retouched though. You can see the some blemishes here.
Mm.
It happens in the depth of field.
Oh yeah,
But
that was
yeah,
really nice.
Beautiful photograph. Yeah.
Yeah,
Want
that's
a
really
t-shirt
nice.
with that on it.
Yeah, or a hat.
gotta fix the lighting in here, but yeah, it's a great plant. This one is just beautiful. I mean, it's another one that people kind of just forgot about, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, where'd it go? You know? So
That
it's
10-year thing, a pattern.
yeah, and it's funny because it's history repeating itself. When I was a lot younger, I remember I got the Calio clone from 8077 and a note came with it and it said, if you want to save a strain, give it away. And that always kind of sat with me. And I thought that was a really important kind of profound thing for some like stranger
Right.
to send me as a young guy trying to figure all this out. But I think it's the truth, I think Marcus said it. It's like people try to play like I'm the only one that can have this, but it came into your life in a really abstract kind of way. So to kind of create these rules around it, I think is sort of
Right.
it's an interesting kind of mental gymnastics to get there on that, because
Well, it's fear and scarcity, right? Everyone's afraid.
sure,
The real fear always that
sure.
no one wants to acknowledge is something because how they say it is it's like, well, they might grow it poorly and undercut the market. And I'm like, no, dude, they might grow it better than you and undercut your market.
It's
Right.
God's plant,
Yeah, sure.
and God meant the plant to be shared.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice when you can. I mean, listen, when I have cuts, I share it with anyone that wants it, and people that say, "Oh, I can get you something, but you can't share it." I'm like, "Oh, I will absolutely share it. Don't give it to me if you don't want it to be shared. Don't give it to me.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Get some people
But
upset."
yeah, but it's, I think putting the work
Listen,
in is important.
the same people who will be upset that you shared it will jump for joy when they lose it and they ask you if you still have it and you say no, but someone I shared it with does. Let me
Well,
get
you
it
know what?
back for you.
It reminds me of this moment. So, like years ago, I had an opportunity to work with a record label that, gave me a drive full of samples, right? And I had access to all this amazing stuff that like people like MF Doom used to make songs and Dilla and all these people. And when I opened the folders up, I started hearing all these songs that people would create out of these things, and it got me excited, but now I had access to do it too. And I think it's very similar where people have tools. There he is. So, when you have access to these tools and building blocks to make things, it's like a color wheel almost where that you have access to, and it's exciting, I think, for the creator because
Hey, I'm
you're
sorry.
seeing how inspirational the things that you were doing or listening to were. And then you have the ability to sort of, use those building blocks in new ways. And you're going to think about it and make things in a way that they would never do. And you're not going to mimic them because you're not them, even though you have the same tools, right? So from a producer beat making point of view and a breeding point of view, no two breeders are going to make the same thing. They may call it the same thing, but it's not going to be the same thing. So I just don't believe anyone should be afraid of it, you know. Um, I think it's cool that you're exploring Edgar, you know.
no doubt. The genetics I make, I pay for them most of the time, or they're gifted to
Yeah.
me, and I give credit, and I do it all with good intentions. I'm very transparent about my breeding process and my approach. And I am like I am true. Like, I mean, I am true to the fact that it was all a learning process from, when I hopped on the scene till now. Like, I learned the whole way, and I've always had the passion, and I've always liked what I like, which was a vision amongst itself. And I just so happen to like, you know, status quo, good objective quality, but at the same time, I never disregarded like legacy and doing the knowledge, right? Whereas some people, it's one or the other, right? And I just kind of, I was like, no, 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 no. Like, we got to know what Runts is. We got to know what Skittles is, what the cookie guys are doing. But at the same time, I need to know what's happening with like, more legacy people like Crickets and Cicada, Mean Gene, the Capulators. Like, I need to know what everything is so that my blade can be as sharp as it can be. And that's kind of my approach. And I told my buddy the other day, I was like, egos box breeders in because they might not agree with someone's character when they might be a bearer, a holder of a flame that they'll never get to experience, and they'll have to wait when somebody's ego they do agree with, they'll be able to be like, oh, he's cool, let me grow his shit, when it's just like, no, nah, it was actually that asshole's first that you didn't really like. But and that's has nothing to do with the plant. So I've always looked past that and grown stuff from people that I don't agree with, on a moral, like nothing to do with plants, or maybe even to do with plants level. Like, let me see what this asshole's doing. Like, let me just listen to it real quick, and let me see if it's any good. And that just opens up my palette even more, I think.
Absolutely. No, that's a good perspective to see because there's a lot of people that get so upset for whatever reason with another person, and now it's like their urge to want to go to war with that person blinds them to something that that person might have that they could really, you know, quite gain from.
Yeah.
100% Marcus. Yeah.
Access those novel flavors. I'm telling you, man, that's what it's about right now. It's all about these novel flavors.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
best tasting flavors we can get that don't wash away in the processes.
Yeah, I just washed some like volunteer plant in my front yard, knowing it was super greasy, like no tack at all, no sand left behind on the texture. And I just packed up like two 1 gallon bags knowingly, froze them, gave them to my uncle to wash at the garden. And he's the same guy that went to the Huckleberry class and all that. And he's like, no, no cigar, like this one's no good. And I'm like, expected, like we do this shit, and I'm like, I'm drying some up right now. Maybe it'll do better. Like, we'll see, like I'm letting it hang for 14 days, and we're gonna wash it again and see if we get a better return from the same plant. So we're just playing, always playing around.
Well, I'll tell you, that's how discoveries occur. So it's important to play around. It's amazing how many more people are playing too, you know? How many more people are growing plants and washing and making selections and just cannabis has come a long way. I suspect it has a much longer way to go here especially in the next 10 years. I don't know if it's all baloney poo poo. I try not to pay too much attention to it. Although now when I hear like a country is like, "Oh, we're thinking about legalizing cannabis," I'm like, "Yeah, no shit." And it usually happens, right? And I've heard whispers of it down in the US for the last like maybe 2 or 3 or 4 days. It's mostly the same regurgitated thing, but I'm like, I just keep my eye on that because my goodness, would that ever be? I know that people are like, no, it would be horrible. They're rescheduling it. They're doing that. It's like, listen, in my opinion, in any direction it moves away from the nonsense that it is currently, federally would be very good. And I guess in the US right now, federal law is not imposed. Everyone's just working under state laws, so it probably feels pretty awesome and free for the most part. But federal law is federal law. It's a good one to not be under.
Yeah. It's such a quasi game. You have to play the game city to city, state to state. Orange to
Oh,
the left, it's different.
dude.
THCA, Michigan. It's such a freaking game, dude. I don't even.
Dude.
I just
This
it's like
massive
the house is
this
on fire.
the hemp thing is just this amazing, like fully crazy, just undermining everything everyone else is doing in the sort of rec and medical aspect of cannabis. It's definitely interesting to watch. From up here, I haven't been down there in so long, so I haven't really quite experienced it. But yeah, Michigan is one of the first places I'm going to go when I get down there. Colorado and Michigan are at the top of my list to go see my partners and kind of sniff around at how different the markets can be in regards to how really not that far away the states are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as you pointed out, man, it's like it's insane. The only thing I'll say is like the hash game of it is not been affected because the THCA aspect is, they can't get around that really. So that's the only thing is like most of that stuff is mixed in stuff that they've created from other byproducts. Like a lot of the THCA hemp stuff, like the THCA rosin has like all kinds of weird stuff in it that is not, because it just doesn't. I mean, there's obviously people on selling it, but not on the THCA sites. It's been really interesting seeing it. But
Just
the
buy that
flower
shit at the gas station.
you can buy a lot of that shit at the gas station, but
Yeah,
it's
I'd
all
imagine to like somebody that don't know and buying it at the gas station. It's way more terrible than somebody that's like knows the cool brands and they're like, oh, this is good hash I can buy, you know?
Yeah, yeah, because I know some good hash. I know some conscious people that are in the hemp game. They do
yeah.
it through the hemp regulations, but they like grow organically and they everything is, it's just all live hash rosin, super beautiful, tasty dabs, but all done through that pathway of the hemp law. And yeah, they're not doing much wrong. They're just following different regulations. I think the fact is that those regulations open up the door to do things in a much bigger and sketchier manner if you so choose, which can possibly, maybe not work out as well for the customer. Of
But I think even then, like the gas station quality is going to be there regardless of
course. Yes.
whatever, So
Yep.
it's all knowledge. It's all knowledge, and people think THCA is a certain type of weed. No,
I know.
THCA is just verbiage to for people to sell their shit. Like point blank. Period. Like this is THCA as soon as one of those factions sells it. Like it's that's what it is. It's just words.
It's wild, I'll tell you that
It
much.
is worth.
That's what everything is, Edgar. Everything is just words. And that's how you get. I was talking to a guy in a super strict regulated market for medical, right? It's the medical market. And he's like, yeah, they don't want to allow any type of burning. So we can't like do pre-rolled joints. I was like, oh, that's people want pre-rolled joints. So he's like, I know, can't do it. And then he gets like someone on his team that says, what if we called them cone-shaped containers? And that language now allows for people to buy cones because it's just the container. You're supposed to rip it open and then just rip out a little bit and put it into the vaporizer. But of course, people can do whatever they want at that point in time. So I heard the same thing in the German market. They couldn't get these things, the pods, the little vapor pods. They couldn't get them into the pharmacies. And then some lawyer was like, why are we calling them like carts or pods? What if we called them special containers? And then the language changed, and now all of a sudden you can get those in the German market. So I think it's
Yep.
interesting that everything is just words. So if you're careful with your words and you know, you have proper intent with your words, you can really move mountains in this world.
Yep.
It's uh
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
important.
THCA, it's like a bubble right now, Who knows if it'll burst or they'll just keep it going.
I
somehow,
mean,
some way.
it's hard to burst things once they become like multi-billion dollar industries.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I'm pretty sure that one must be by now.
I bet a lot of people are invested in it now to the point where they're like, nah, we have to like hire lobbyists and build a political action committee to keep
Yeah.
our farm going and keep this bankroll going. And that's kind of where I kind of see it going.
It's an incredible loophole that, up in Canada, we never even considered it. We've just been growing hemp as an industrial crop for like a 35 years or something like that. 30 years. We've been growing it as an industrial crop. We don't grow hemp up here really, with CBD. I mean, we do now, but not like the way you guys do. Not like 20, like people will be like, oh, I got a CBD. It's like 3% CBD. It's like, oof, that's not even worth my time as an extractor. But you grow 20 or 23% CBD on a field, and suddenly there's an actual value to pull off of it. So Canada never really got the memo on that, but you guys went right to it. You blew right over grain and just went right to like, well, you had this farm bill. This farm bill was insane. The
Yeah.
way it was written. You say it's just words. It's like, well, those words created a very, very large hole in the bill that allowed for, you'd almost think that they had intent on this happening.
No doubt. Yeah, they probably did. They probably did. 100%.
Especially the language of like all it has to do is be 0.3% of of THC, the ratio of THC to the object. So if you put it in a drink or a big gummy, well, even if you have a substantial amount of milligrams, well, the gummy could weigh like 7 grams or 4 grams or you know what I mean? The drink is like 500 mLs or 350 mLs. You could put a lot of milligrams and have that still be 0.3% THC
No doubt.
by weight. So yeah, that loophole is insane, absolutely bonkers. Shout out to everyone that's doing it. I'm not judging. I'm certainly not trying to shut you down. It is a bummer that the lack of regulations allows for a sketchy group. That's humanity. That's in everything that everyone does. It's always going to be that aspect, but it also is a bummer. I would rather see the regulations shift towards the hemp regulations for all the people who have been fighting the good fight here for the longest time and dispensaries. And it'd be nice if it was a lot less regulated. Dispensaries could do in federal markets, if dispensaries could do deli style, where you open the jar and give a little waft, use some tongs and pull out the buds or the whatever, do the compounding there, deli style at your dispensary. I think that would increase just the chain of custody, the freshness, the ability to
Those are the
not,
good old days.
yeah, to the good old days. It actually worked the best because it's what worked the best.
You couldn't do the switcheroo. Now people go buy based on
Oh my
how
God.
much anime boobage is on the package. They're like, oh, that one's got a lot of anime on it. Let me grab two of those. I'll get two animes.
Fuck.
You know, it's
That's
all
so
bad.
awesome. It's all
And
bad.
at least even like if they do show you a small container, right? They could still do the switcheroo. Who's to say they have a different batch somewhere from that container they're using as an example, right? Like you
Yeah.
need the jar. Like that jar is what I'm getting. And I was fortunate enough to come up in that little medical wave right before 64 hit and fucked everything up. But yeah,
Mm,
those were the good old days, man. You go and they have an assortment of flavors and you go home with a little bit of everything and it helps do the knowledge better, as opposed to alluding everything to like a package now, which or a company, which is
yeah.
fine. But back then, it's easier to do the knowledge and be more privy to what's what.
Yeah. Well, and because the lack of testing, you didn't buy based on THC
Yep.
percent. You didn't, just wasn't a thing. And I get it. The minute they did that, they kicked themselves in the mouth so hard because people are always going to acknowledge that it's the THC that they're buying. That's the value. They haven't gone deep enough to be like, oh, actually, there's all these other cool, interesting things. And although maybe it's going to happen one day, it seemingly hasn't for at least the last like 40 or 50 years. Only amongst the smallest group of people has it happened. For the rest of people, they're just like, what? What's a trichrome?
There's a huge disconnect with like industry and some people that might even work around it. Like they'll hit me with like, oh, the terps are this high and the THC was this and that. And I'll just be like, dude, that means absolutely to me. I'm so sorry, but like that means nothing to me. I get more of an idea of what you're talking about if you're like, yo, this is a blue dream chem. Yo, this is a, I got more of an idea of what I'm gonna taste and get it into as opposed to like this random strain tested at this, and that. Like, dude, that doesn't. I don't even know how high I'm gonna get when you're telling me that. That terp test could be from an objective poor crop. Like, and you still get those numbers. Like that. Just because you grew a 6 doesn't mean you're not gonna get your numbers still. But that's kind of how I see it. Like those numbers, they mean abs to me nothing. Like nothing. For the most part, they don't help me with my selection process or capturing new aromas or even making a purchase when I'm gonna go spend my hard-earned cash. No way, no fucking way. The terps number, the THC, it's just, it's cool for the science and doing the science. I get it. I get that part. But like at a chicken's bigger, chicken's smaller level, like it just can't. I can't do it. I
You
can't
you
do it.
can't smell or see any product in our market. Everything's based on those numbers. You don't have to listen to them, but at that point, then all you can do is research and learn to know like, oh, okay, this company is a very special company. I met the people. They actually toured me their grow. I got to see their hash maker. I actually know who their hash maker. So then you can have a good idea. Okay, I can call my buddy, hey, is the last drop good? But otherwise you can't like everyday people who won't have that access are buying on first prayer and then second, on if the prayer was answered and the product was good, because it's not a super anomaly for that to happen. That is what should happen. But there's still a percentage of times where the ball gets dropped, some sort of vector occurs where the product is the chain of custody, the cold chain is breached, something occurs where the product is changed. And then when you go buy that one based on the last time where it was like, no, this was good, and you're buying like a 40 or a 50 or a $60 gram, and then it's less than, that is a crusher because you could have probably told by being able to look at it. If you could have just seen what you were buying, you probably could have had a good idea or even had a waft with your nose and been like, oh, that shit smells stale as hell. Or you could see it's dry and cracking, and taking away the eye component is harsh for the cannabis culture, in my opinion. It's something that, federal legalization just assumes was an essential that they had to do it because I guess without it, there becomes these enormous vectors for contamination. It is to protect the customer in the end, but it's a bummer. Just like that jar, every time I crack that jar with the mushrooms in it, just cracked it the tiniest little bit, there would be just like a million spores that could go in there. And then my beautiful white mycelium, instead of like fruiting mushrooms, would grow green and black mold. And I was like, oh, that was when I began the understanding of like, oh my God, we live in a microbial world. This shit is floating all around us. It's everywhere. And so, with cannabis, I never got sick. I never felt sick, but I will say like now as I'm like at a different time in my life, like watching people take their fingers and like rip my hash open or touch the hash and it's like almost like I'd rather not have it happen. I'd rather be like, you know what, that's just adding shit to the hash that I don't need to add. I'll keep my hands clean. I'll be the hash guy. They can touch their hash. I'll touch mine. I'll never forget Cuban Grower when he first met Frenchie Cannoli. He had his beautiful, pure, dry sifted heads. And he opens it up and he's like, and he's in his Cuban accent. He's like, I'm telling I show this guy and man, he's like, right away, man, he's like finger fucking my hash. and he's getting all super excited about it when he says it. And you can tell it's like, dude, this guy has done everything in his power. His hash is hashtag never touched, other than, possibly the static technique that he's using to clean it or whatever he is doing to clean it. I'm sure there's some touching it. It's hash that you don't really touch. It's hash when you look at you don't. But Frenchie was a unique dude. Frenchie was all about like getting it on his fingers and feeling it, rolling it up, and that was part of his hash culture. It was just super neat to hear the Frenchie cannoli Cuban grower hash culture clash that occurred when he stuffed his dirty mitts into Cubans into Cuban's hash. R.I.P. to you, Frenchie. We do miss you. Ooh la la. You were passionate about the hashish, my friend. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Didn't always agree upon everything. Us, you and me, we didn't always agree on everything, but I sure appreciated your love of hashish. And the fact that we were both French, you much more French than I, but I am French. My family comes from France and I'm bilingual and fluent in French. So I spoke to Frenchie in French many times. And yeah, we'll miss the character. There's not enough of us that have a passion for hash like that. That's a nice big fat dab you're hitting, Colin. What are you ripping?
Ooh, this is some Romulan, man.
Is that
Just pulled
some
it out
ooh
of the...
la la?
Yeah, dude. This is I mean it's really nice. It's been sitting out all day.
Hey, okay.
Starting to...
Yo, good Cuban impersonation, by the way.
Was it though?
It was. I talked to Cuban enough. You
That's
said
what's
like
up.
10 words, but it was good.
I haven't talked to him in so long, dude. Not since I had to bump him out of chat. He was being rude one day, and he's never talked to me since. He's never come
Oh
back.
man.
The guy holds a grudge for real.
Yeah, Cuban's a hard personality for sure, but
Well, I got
I
nothing but
got
love for him. I
yeah.
appreciate what he did for the culture and what he continues to do. And just, he's always welcome on Hash Church, dude. He's a care. I always thought he was fucking hilarious,
I
personally.
rubbed him the wrong way recently with my kissing memes of hash collabs. He came up to me and he's like, "Hey man, your memes recently like they're kind of and I'm just like, "Hey man, like that's what I think, I'm sorry." And I'm right there explaining the meme to him like an idiot, and he just like walks away and I'm just like, "Damn, I think I pissed off Cuban." That's what I'm thinking the whole time. And then whatever that this was recently last weekend at WrestleMania or whatever, he came up to
Nice.
me, and this is like I'm cool with Cuban. Like we, I'm chill with him.
Yeah, you
And
guys
then
are homies.
and then recently he kind of liked something, or he followed up on a post I made. I'm like, cool. Like I didn't piss him off completely. Like he's
Yeah.
still I'm still in his I'm not on his shit list.
I'm definitely on his shit list. I pissed him off. I can't remember what was going on. I think he dropped a "Do you know who I am?" to someone in the chat. He was like bitch slapping someone in the chat. And I was like, dude, you
Oh
can't talk
man.
to people in the chat like that. And he was like, oh, I can talk to anyone. And I just bounced him out. I shouldn't have done it. In fact, I apologize, Cuban. I
Yo, it
probably shouldn't have
happened in
bounced you
your
out.
chat. It happened at my freaking store physically, bro. I'm at my store and he's right there. I swear to God, he's about to get in a fist fight with somebody. I'm like, hey, you and homie, taking it to the alley, and it's in your chat. It happened at my store, dude.
That's
Freaking
pretty funny.
Cuban's that guy. Cuban is that dude, man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, God bless him. Someone's got to be that guy. And
Yeah. And I
no
kicked him
judgment.
out the store for that very moment. I was like, hey, you got to get the fuck out of here with that shit,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
This is
exactly. Dude, you're welcome to come back when you're not, doing that. And then that's fine. We're good to go. That's
love Cuban. I
hilarious.
love Cuban.
Yeah, for sure. Ruby Weapon.
Yep, Ruby Weapon. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
Tell me about the
That's a
Ruby Weapon.
So Ruby Weapon, the name is named after a video game character. It's like one of the final bosses, hard to beat.
Right.
So that's what this is a final boss type strain. It's a final boss turret because it's got three really good, you know, uh pieces in it. It's Honey Banana, Taliman, Starburst, and it's a
Mm.
Taliman forward receiver mango donor. And the progeny that's been coming out of it has been like promising. It's like an easy, consistent hunt for any hash maker, novice to great. Like it's just like, damn, terps. Like, you get a nice banana pancake, you get a nice acrid, mango, and
Mm.
some stuff in between. But all in all, like the Ruby Weapon, is just like the stuff that I like mashed up together. It's like Bruce Lee takes a little bit of everybody's style, puts it into, his style. And that's kind of where I'm very true to it too. Like the honey banana tolly is I did that release with Damn It Bobby, but it was actually made by Fletcher's partner, Archive Organ's brother. He made those
Okay.
seeds. He did a Tollymon reversal, and I like debuted those seeds for Damn It Bobby or something like that. There's some type of triangle going on like that, but I'm somehow I was the original like releaser. Now they did the Tollymon hybrids with and they cross it into like a lemon or something, and that's like what they're using as their flagship in the Commonwealth seed kind of brand. But all in all, that's where I got my honeybee tolly from. And then the Starburst, you guys, I told you that story already. So I just kind of mashed up those two good pieces together, and I got some nice ruby weapon selections, and I made some back crosses just for the sake of repopulation. And I was already doing it type of deal, like to make more Starburst seeds. So I just made BXs, like that was the intention behind that, just to make more dope seeds, of
Yeah,
something that's some flame.
totally. What about the No Wilson line?
The No Wilson line was the day I decided to just let the males randomly hit each other, and that was
Mm,
like the precursor to natural selection. So like just me coming up with words to identify my product, right? Or my offering or my vision. So I was
yeah.
like, oh, everyone says I do Wilson. He's the Wilson. Oh, all he does is Wilson. It's no Wilson. And then I was like,
Yeah.
that's kind of like that's not easy on the ears. And then natural selection kind of came up, like just a term that I coined to identify the open pollination amongst different males from all the seeds in that run. It could be outdoor, indoor, whatever the case. Mine is outdoor, and people they joke about it now, and they're like, "Hey, I did a natural selection. Hey, I did a," and they do the same thing with the forced collaboration thing. Hey, forced collaboration, and it's just words. It's just words.
Yeah. Well, everything's words.
Yep,
I like it.
yep.
Yeah, I like the Force collabs too. Those are funny.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
forced
dude.
collabs. It's all like it's the ego. It's all like, man, like I used to, I played the game. Hey, thanks. It's like super fan. Hey man, thanks for the seeds. Can I please make a seed? And it's all like, fuck that shit, bro. Like I respectfully, I love all my breeders, but some of these guys, they might just tell you no because they don't fucking like you. You don't meet my criteria. And it's like, man, fuck you, man. I'm gonna go. I bought these seeds off of you, dude. Why'd I even ask? Fucking asshole. And
Yeah.
meanwhile, if anybody buys anything off of me, hey man, please do whatever you want, call it whatever you want, pay homage and keep it pushing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a different way of approaching it where someone gives you something, hey dude, don't do this, don't do that. And if you still do it, yeah, you're an asshole, 100%.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know. It's it goes back to what Sam kind of did, where he spread his skunk into everything. And imagine if he took that stance and was like, "No, I'm the only one that can have this."
Yeah.
We wouldn't be where we are.
Oh my
You
God, dude. Holland in the 90s wouldn't have existed.
100%. So that's my point. It's like, and then all of us got our genetics back through those channels. That sort of what I used to call the Silk Road, and then of course online channels like we trade. I thought that was pretty, probably the most important thing that happened in the late 90s, early 2000s. We all got connected, right? Like, and we were able to send clones, right? In ways that did not happen before.
I feel like Edgar flipped the script too with his, fucking insane $1 seed menus, right?
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Affordable
Yeah.
access to elite genetics that totally democratized breeding for home growers. Like, what sparked that move, Edgar?
I mean, working hand in hand with big breeders like around 2016, 17, 18, like just floating around with Oni when he was working with Harry Palms and kind of seeing all the noise, getting behind the curtain and getting to know the breeders and seeing the work that I did compared to the work they did, respectfully, I felt like I put more grit into my workflow where someone was more so using other people's hands to create a brand. And I was like, hey, man, how the fuck is this guy the man and getting all the glory when he's got this guy as his lackey and shit, respectfully. And it's just like, man, I'm the man, like, and I know how seeds are made, and I think they shouldn't cost that much. And that's kind of how I approached it. Like stuff was 150. So I was like, oh fuck it, I'll charge like 75, and be open about my process. I'm not claiming anything besides what I did and what it is. And people always vibe with that. And I kind of created, this what it is today, like just being transparent, loving what I did, and just standing on what I did, even if I was on my learning process, which I still am, to this day. Like I got my head wrapped around what I think I like, but I'm still open minded to like something new floating on my table, like white thorn rose, And
Mm,
imagine me being like, man, fuck everybody, man, that shit's mids, just because I never heard of it. Then
right.
I'm boxing myself into that. Oh, that guy mentioned it, it's mids, like I'm just boxing myself. I'm very, even the hypest, most luxury vanity strain. I want to know what these motherfuckers are doing, and I want to know what everybody's doing. That way I could have my head wrapped around as much as possible. But as far as cheap price points, what led to that was just like literally going behind the curtain and seeing all these guys that do sell seeds or have a seed bank. And I'm just like, oh, like the game is rigged, like that's kind of how I seen it. But all in all, like, don't get me wrong, I do sell stuff for like, there's nothing cheap about one pack for 50. There's nothing cheap about going to the website and buying 10 of those, there's nothing cheap about buying, one set of a assortment of seeds for $100, So when there is those cheap price points, but it adds up, it adds up. And it's kind of like when I go to Baker Seeds, the vegetable website, and drop 3K on their $5 packs, So it adds up.
Totally.
It adds up, but I do have to put respect on some of my varieties and be like, nah, that's $100 pack. And the reasoning behind it would be like, oh, it took me longer to make. It was like an indoor population. There's less of it, so on and so forth. But as soon as I make a big bust of it and I grow a big full term outdoor plant of it, I don't want to be stuck with a big bag of seeds when I could off them at $20 a pack or something like that, knowing damn well the next season's coming. And I live in California, Los Angeles, where the season never stops. Like I'm constantly making things where back in the day, maybe like laws and access to space and knowledge, all these things made that price point reasonable. Like, oh, like, yeah, it's illegal and this, and that. Like, I get it. I get it. And even now I get it. Like, yeah, people have IP and they want to protect their image, and there's a lot of perception. And some of like, there used to be a thing that's like, oh, I'm on the seed bank now. It's all like, well, fuck, good for you, Like, I never had that. I never wanted that validation from like, oh, I'm on a seed bank now. I always was like, I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna get it out the trunk. So that was
Yeah.
always my thought
Maintain
process.
maintain the chain of custody.
Exactly, 100%.
Seed bank, you
Yep.
better trust your seed bank in a great deal because it's a big responsibility when you're taking seeds and you have t tens of thousands of them, hundreds of thousands of them, and you don't mix them up. You don't mix up their labels, and you don't, very important thing, back in the day when people would gift me seeds, I always thought like, "Whoa, what a nice gift." And then, years later I'd be like, "Oh wow, what a gift. Like, let me just grow this for the next 3 months and find out if it was worth growing." It's such you better take those seeds from someone you really know, someone you really trust, someone that has a word or some, that you've seen their work before. Because taking seeds from someone that you've never, maybe it's okay to throw into a field and walk, but to pay that kind of attention, to not know if a seed is going to be at least have a good chance on being something special, that's a lot of energy and time and work that you have to put into that.
Yeah, 100%. Like I tell people all the time, you don't have to grow a full-term monstrosity from April to harvest season to know it was a terp you didn't like, And I always joke around, like you don't have to grow a full-term plant to know it's train wreck. Like you could flip it almost immediately
Hmm.
and be like, oh, I don't like that. It's the same thing with a song. Like you don't listen to the whole song, go to the very end and be like, that song sucked. No, it's usually within the first 15, 30 seconds. You're like, oh, I can't listen to this shit. And it's the same thing with strains.
Yeah. Well, with, Skunkman Sam, he was the polar opposite. He always wanted to grow a plant as big as he could possibly grow it to see what it was capable of. And even if maybe something wasn't special in the terps he was looking for, I guess from
Yep,
a breeding standpoint, there may be something else in regards to structure,
no
resilience.
doubt.
Who knows, right? I mean, fuck, it's an endless game that you could spend a lot of time on going down a lot of different
Yeah.
rabbit holes. But he always wanted to like, let's grow these things as big as we can. I just want to see what they're capable of, and then I'll test from there. But you're certainly not wrong that you can flip a plant as you can flip borderline a seedling, just a little
Yep.
bit taller than that. And you'll get a little nugget right on top that you can give a little squeeze and have a little flavor in there. You could probably even take that bud and cut it off and squish it into rosin and take a dab, or dry it out and twist it up and roll it into a joint.
Yeah, I've been sold seeds for thousands of dollars, and they've, the terpenes or the labs couldn't even test for these, and this whole story behind it, and then I grow it and it's jack, and I'm just like, fuck, like and thank God I didn't grow a full-term plant of it, it was just like a small plant, so and what I'll do is like I'll lock an aroma, and amongst 10 seeds, you can see which one's like the bigger growing one, and I'm quick on re-vegging too, and we'll grow a big one as soon as we lock in on the turf. We'll grow a field of it, we'll pack rooms of it. But all in all, like we lock in like that. We get that little window, and we're like, oh, re-veg that one. Like let's put that in somebody's hand that is gonna put it in more people's hands. That's kind of where yeah, I still do that, but in a different capacity for sure, for sure.
Awesome.
Let me step right back. I'll be back like in 2 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me BRB.
I'm
I'm
just
gonna
having a
unfreeze
little
myself.
ginger lemon tea. Let me tell you, it is delicious. Colin's just having a little drink of water.
Yeah, man. I loved what you guys were saying. I think looking at the terp profiles is super important. But as you said, man, like the attributes for commercialization, when you're selecting that's really important. As Sam always kind of did, is he went through the process to understand what's the unilateral branching look like, what's the nodes, how does the flower develop over time, and ultimately the resin and obviously the profile. But there's a lot to take into consideration when you're selecting, so it's super important to go through it and then also grow it from seed to a cutting, because those are two different, they're very different. The plant performs actually very differently. So I always tell people to run it at least 4 times to really understand if it's something you should be keeping in the stable. There are those rare moments, but there's a lot of sapphire out there and there's not a lot of diamonds. So hunting is super important, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And the proof is in the pudding, you know?
Yeah,
Proof is in the
100%.
pudding. It's in the
That's the
puffing.
truth. It's in the puffing of the pudding.
It was Subcool was one of those people that always stood out to me in a similar way as Edgar has been these last few years. And Sub just
For sure.
always had fire. You could just say whatever you wanted. Sub always had fire. Dude was always growing fire. He was one of the first to start teaching super soils. Not the first time I'd seen it. I had seen it in the early 90s in the Kootenays. These guys were, putting out the tarp and putting the worm castings and just creating a super soil basically. But he was one of the first people that I saw doing it publicly online, really
Hmm.
promoting it. And he just had that understanding that if you have a mycorrhizosphere, you're gonna have better luck with his seeds. He wanted you to get terps like he got, and that was harder to do in Rockwell.
And that's the truth of it. He was such I mean, honestly, I used to follow some of I mean, I obviously went off the rails a little bit and added my own twist to it, but the teachings that he had online, I think, were like some of the most important for the forum days, because it really there was really not many people like him teaching the lessons that he was teaching, and then ultimately sharing like SOPs. Like he was like doing and creating, a space for people to really become experts at soil, understanding the soil biome, really. I thought there was no other place like it online. So um there's this one other guy called Dankmaster that I just will always remember as well. He was a big part of that as well. And he was one that I believe taught Sub a lot about the amendments that he did. So
Right. Yeah. Dank Master. Oh, good for all those guys doing it back in the day, man.
yeah, yeah, really, really cool.
Just
But
spreading knowledge is so helpful. It just makes the most sense. And yeah, from the perspective of, someone who makes seeds and is sharing and selling seeds out into the world, well, you want those people to grow them well, and that's something you just can't control. You cannot control how someone, cracks a seed, how they plant a seed, how they care for a seed. But they are very delicate in those early times. Not so much if you have it set up proper, but if you don't, you can obviously kill or injure them. It sucks to injure a seedling. It really does seem to affect them for the rest of their the grow.
for sure, but that's also like part of it. Like if you pop like, a trays of seeds, you'll see, through that process the ones that really respond to certain stress and some bounce back, some don't. Certain populations will throw, profile, even like to talk about the terpene profiles. I've seen like populations of things throw terpene profiles that are like not even, I can't even imagine how they got in there. In
Right.
terms of like some are like beta-garofylline forward when they came from like more Colombian stuff that's like very muted and not.
Well, Ryan Lee was telling me not too long ago because I heard someone saying, "Oh, someone was saying that your linalool dominant plant was producing myrcene," and he was like, "Yeah, it can if people
Mhm.
grow it, not the way we're growing it to get it to express this way. If they do something different, they can have myrcene express out of it." So here you are now able to buy cultivars for dominant terpenes specifically. Imagine this where you may have to grow it a specific way to get it to express that. Maybe if you do something else, you're going to stress it into producing myrcene or something else that changes the profile of the thing you're growing and no longer has that dominant, linalool is a rare dominant terpene. It's a good one to have by itself. And Chimera did a linalool dominant cultivar recently for the Victoria Cannabis Company.
Yeah, I
Have
think
this strain. I'm
grapes and
sorry.
cream is very little forward. Um, I just and it's so subtle too on the plant. Like it almost feels hashy when you're smelling the plant, but it's very interesting.
Yeah, I
But when
got
you
this
collect it
GMO
and put it in a
guava
bag,
Ooh, GMO guava. That's an
that
interesting.
just it just changes, bro. Like you grow it in the winter. You like I'm growing it right now. It's nothing like when I grew it the first time. And I've given it to like 5 hash makers and it's always different. Like it changes like Mr. Potato Head, just like I changed my face. Like and there's certain strains that I'll grow like I'll grow a blue cheese that was gifted to me and it'll grow on me. Like I'll be like, "Oh, that's mids." Whatever, keep it around, grow it again. Let's see if it's not mids. Oh, that's mids again. And then by the third round, I'm phasing it out, and I'll be like, oh, I kind of like this now.
Hmm.
It's so weird, and this is like a reoccurring theme, and it could be like just like where my thought process is at the third year into growing those varieties. But all in all, to me, I feel like they change. Like they honestly change. Like I'm growing the straw guava GMO that I've had for like 3 years now, right here on the like in my front yard on the side of the gate. It smells like nothing like it's ever smelled like before. Like it's got more of that strawberry yogurt, creamy, blissful wizard thing going on with it, as opposed to like it had more of a sharpness before. And then when the homies grew it, it turned into like some raunchy chem from the GMO. So I'm just like, it's always got me scratching my chin. And it's only certain strains that do that to me here and there for sure.
Well, if you've got a strong terpene fruit flavor like guava, even that rotten sort of fruit. And then you have thiol, garlic, onion flavor on the GMO side.
Yep.
That is a very like those are such opposing flavor profiles. Those are I mean, when would you ever take a big clove of garlic and just stick it into a fucking, bowl of guava?
You wouldn't
But
unless
what
you
a
love
trippy
garlic.
profile. I imagine that it can't be both simultaneously, that it's just
No.
this ever-changing funky weirdness.
Well, it's like I grew the OZKB times Z from Counterculture. He sent me some stuff that he did, and that one's just like got all these things mixed into it in one. It's got like a little Z, a little bit of this like guava thing, but it's got this gas undertone, and then there's like a little kush on the tail end of it. So the complexity is definitely there. You know what I mean? So I do believe that these unassuming flavors, right? Like these cushes and these like kind of raunchy chems can kind of accentuate one another. It does get confusing sometimes. Like been a couple like blueberry varietals that I've outcrossed or had the experience of growing that some like grew on me, like you said, Edgar. Like at the end of it, I was like, oh man, like I actually want to keep this now. And some you just like want to throw out, but that's why you should grow them a few times. But ultimately, man, like it's amazing to have the palettes that we have right now because it's the building blocks are there to keep creating new things, and I can't wait to see what you're doing with the Starburst to try some of that stuff.
No
Because
doubt.
that's gonna be, you know, that'll be dynamic like that, you know.
But yeah, shout out Higher Ground, that's all shout out to him and shout out the Starburst OG cut and KC Brains for the KC 36. I had the
KC
pleasure,
Brains.
yeah. That's
It's
that's
awesome.
actually where the essence of all the 36 and everything forward that's getting pushed is coming from. Like Starburst OG by itself is like Fire OG Bubba, and that strain is nothing like what is getting spotlighted, which is that mango acrid jelly, right?
Mm.
So it's like it's night and day. But it just so like the Starburst 36 is Starburst OG crossed into the KC 36, which makes the Starburst 36, which is what I and like kind of just grabbing that and just doing my little one and done with it. But Higher Ground, that's his male that he introduced to a female from a clone that he got from Ogre Farms, I believe. And Ogre Farms actually gave me that same Starburst OG clone like in 2017, and I crossed it to Wilson. But it's just like it wasn't nothing like what the 36 is. And when same thing that happened with the Shishkaberry, I smoked the 36 and I was like, what the fuck is that? I like that. And then next thing you know, I'm breeding with it. Like it's the same thing. Like I breed with stuff that I enjoy to smoke for the most part. And that's where I felt a lot of the education and maybe even like higher grounds, like I just felt like I needed to do this. Like, hey, let me just hop on this mango real quick and spread this gene pool a little bit, like and I paid rightfully so. I bought $1,000 worth of F2s and my $250, F1 pack. And John actually came to my house to the garden one day and I didn't know who he was. John is higher ground, by the way. And one day my buddy, he's a hash maker, his name is Trichrome Tortoise. He's all like, hey, I have this guy, he's gonna link up with you, whatever. And I'm just like, whatever, dude, I'm doing you a favor. This guy comes to my house, he looks at my whole backyard, he leaves some jars. This guy goes home. This guy is higher ground, John. And I'm just like, what an idiot. Like an episode of Secret Boss. If there was any time for me to hide anything, this would be the day. But as far as I was concerned, he's just like another dude. And he's like, hey man, like you have a bunch of males, like that's gonna be like open pollination, straight pollen. And I'm like, I'm doing natural selection, like that's what I was doing at the time. He's like, oh, he's like scratching his head, like this guy is crazy. He leaves 2 jars, I smoke them, and then I'm like, oh, you're such an idiot. That's higher ground, John. Like you got a legend at your house pretty much, and you didn't even know who the fuck it was. Like, but
Tortoise
that
didn't
story,
mention it.
he didn't mention it like, hey, higher ground mango starburst guy is gonna be at your house. No, it was like, hey, a friend's gonna link up with you. Very vague, very general. And it happened. John came to the house. He left some starburst jars, and I'm just like, oh, that's a terp. That's a terp. And then next thing you know, John was doing a lot of pop-ups, or doing a pop-up at the Astor Club here in Los Angeles.
Mm,
And he was doing a seed, he was dropping seeds, and I was like, yo, I need that. And I tapped in heavy. So,
smart.
I want to give credit where it's due. None of this starburst, anything would be done without John's spotlighting of the KC36 and all that stuff. So I want to give credit where it's due. But yeah, I went down that rabbit hole the same way I went down the shishka berry rabbit hole, and anything I ever decide that I think is like I want to play with.
Hmm.
And until the day, like, I do find this completely new material, like I did with the Wilson. I like to think, that's its own aroma, and you can't really put your finger on it. Like, like I'll be there. But all in all, like, it's grabbing, like, shishka berry is just something old that I revamped in my own way. I can't take credit for that. And Skittle
Great
hybrids
varietal
are
though,
the
man.
best thing. Oh yeah, and I love Skittles,
Amazing.
but last thing I want to do is like check out my Skittles line. Fuck that.
Totally.
Like, that's so like check out my recent trendy song. That's not art to me. But
Have
I
you
love
ever
Skittles.
have you ever grown any bog stuff? You ever
Yeah, I
tried
grew
it?
his what is that called? Like the sour bubble or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
sour
grew the
bog.
sour
There's like a
bubble.
bunch of them. Sour boggle, the grape,
Yeah, I grew the strawberry bog, I think it's called too, or something like
strawberry
that.
bog, and then there's like grape. There's a grape one.
Who's sour dub from?
That's from bog.
That shit's the best fucking
So
gas and
that's
weed
that's
world in
from
the
sour
world, bro.
bubble. That came from a sour bubble. Um,
I have a sour dub
yeah.
cut, dude. Jesus Christ, bro. Like,
I
that's
still
another
have a
thing,
bunch of his stuff. So I used
Sour
to
dub is
test
so
for him
good.
back in way back when, like in the early 2000s. I used to test for him, and I've thought some of his stuff that he didn't release was better than some of the stuff he did release. He's got some like blue satellite times bog bubble times sour boggle, and that was like bonkers good. Um
Yeah,
yeah, there's some good I mean, he was really, I don't know, he had some really good indica varietals.
no
And
doubt.
really good hash makers, man. Like some like really good ones that like the sour bubble is was some of those phenos were like incredible to wash.
Yeah, like
So
if I lose my dub cut, I would be like sad. I'd be like, oh fuck, we lost the dub. Like, it's one of
yeah.
those type of cuts. It's a staple in my garden. I bred with it, but I've yet to find anything from that I breed with it. Like, I crossed it into the mango, and everything that came out of it is like a hash bar. It's like a mango chocolate, which is dope and cool in its own way. But like, I'm breeding with dub to get like that burn your eye gas, that fucking burn your finger, break it
Yeah,
down gas.
that
Like,
good.
I'm not breeding with dub to get chocolate mangoes, bro. Like, it's fun and cool and edgy, and it might seem nice on paper and decent in a jar, but like, that's like my fifth choice, when it comes to making a purchase. Like, I want
Yeah.
Z followed by sour, followed by chem, like, followed by like a candy, followed by a fruit, and then all those mashed together would be the next flavor, and then everything else comes in next. I'm not too
Yeah.
big on
No,
anything else.
it's a hard one to breed with.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I gotta jump here in a minute. It's been an amazing conversation today.
Yeah, I
Uh,
really enjoyed it, man. I'm kind of digging these smaller hash church panels where we can get into it, not get pulled into the wrong rabbit hole. Probably going to do a little bit editing at the start of this video, not going to lie. That was pretty crazy. That was pretty
Yo,
crazy.
crazy, bro.
Crazy shit. That was
what
crazy.
happened?
What do you mean? What
Oh,
happened? You weren't here for the jokes?
Oh,
Dude, what happened? I apologize to the entire world, but I can't control people.
oh
sure.
man. He was
Um,
dropping bars.
he was dropping bars. I egged him on. I shouldn't have done it.
You did
I
egg him
am
on.
definitely at fault.
You let him go for round two. Is
I
that when
did.
the
I did. I did. I'm not gonna lie. I accept my fate, whatever it may be. If I must be canceled, I must be canceled. I apologize to the
You'll
world,
be all
but
right. You'll be
I think so.
100%.
No, I really enjoyed talking to both of you today. It was fun. Definitely always glad to just sit around and puff some bowls. And fuck, we did 3 hours, man. That's not a short hash church by any means.
Yeah,
No
man.
doubt.
Appreciate you having me, Mark, man. Colin, you're always a pleasure.
Always, brother.
Absolutely. I want to shout out the Press Club for sponsoring today's episode, as well as Puffco, Bubble Bags, and Grandmaster LEDs. Thank you guys for your continued support. And yeah, everyone else, everyone that's been watching, I think we had over 300 people watching the whole show. Yeah, there's 324 on there right now. I appreciate all of you guys. Really, I do. I am once again very sorry that some of you got offended today, and that was unfortunate. I will definitely not go do that, Freedom Farmer. I appreciate all of you that stood by us for the last 3 hours. And if you want to link up with any of us, we're easy to find. I'll put the links in the description. So if you want to go to the Press Club, or you want to go to Puffco, or you want to hook up with Edgar, you want to hook up with Colin, I'll make it easy for you. In the meantime, really, thank you all for watching. Once again, may the full melt bless your bowl sooner than later. That's it for me. Peace out, everybody.
Peace out.
Peace out.
Peace, guys. Later.
Peace out.